5, 4, 3. Hi, everybody. Dugraz here with Dugraz Reports. Welcome to my Saturday morning live stream. Today is Saturday, August the 9th, 2025, and I'm reporting live from my house. Good to have each and every one of you on board this morning. This morning's live stream is just a little different than usual. There is no theme of the day, and I'll let you know why. So yesterday evening, I had a church activity. It was like a camp out, but not with tent sleeping. It's sort of like we just went to a campsite and, had s'mores and hot dogs and sang songs and fellowshiped with one another. So if you're wondering why I have some welts on my forehead, these are mosquito bites. I don't have a weird rash, just mosquito bites. They were thick last night and it was humid. And because of that, I didn't have time last night to prepare a theme of the day. Normally I do that on Friday evening. So instead, we're just going to do an Ask Me Anything this morning. But don't worry, we'll still have Dugraz data points as usual. And there will be kind of one topic that rises to the surface a little, sort of like a mini theme. And the miniature theme is how do you allocate your spend to different ecosystems, or how do you make that decision to shift some of your spending from one credit card ecosystem to another credit card ecosystem? If you are on board and have not yet done so, please click the thumbs up button. That drives more people in here. Let's see who's on board this morning. Sorry that I was late. It was because with, the late night, it was like I could have gotten home anywhere between 9 and 1 a.m. and I didn't know which one it would be. It was actually before 10 a.m., so not super late, but I did have to push back my start time because of that. So I'm sorry that was not particularly predictable, but here we are. John R. is on board, the first, and Steve is second. Good to see you, Steve. Ian, I suppose, is third, which was fine. I was born on the third day of the third month, so it's fitting. Oh, cool. Sam K. from the UK is here. How you doing? Mike Newland, my benefactor, has arrived. David Gomez says lizard, lizard, lizard. I don't know what that means. Some guy named Dugraz Nostalgia. Ian says, fraud alert. Someone tell Doug he's got an imposter. Who likes nostalgia? At least that person could be a member if they're going to copy his name. I don't know if you guys are not in on the joke. I actually have 3 different YouTube channels. I have Dugraz Reports, Driving with Dugraz, and Dugraz Nostalgia. So that was one of my alter egos. Sam K said, did the tariff YouTube thumbnails? I'm looking at a blank screen. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, Sam. Did anybody else? I mean, I don't want everyone commenting on it, but maybe 2 or 3 data points. Did anybody else, instead of a thumbnail, just get like a gray screen with the 3 dots, sort of like image loading? Because when I copied it onto Discord, that's how it looked. I don't know why. So I was also wasting some of my valuable minutes trying to get that figured out too. I went back and changed the image on YouTube instead of StreamYard. You'll notice in the top corner, there's a StreamYard logo. One of these days I need to upgrade to the semi-professional version instead of the free version. Ian encouraged you all to hit the like button while you were sitting there waiting for me. And this guy said about 4 minutes. And Ian said it about 4 times. Dad on a mission is here. Good morning, sir. As is Fly and Ryan. Sam K, thanks for encouraging everyone to hit like. And Tiger Maple and Dennis Dunn. What's up in Iowa? Oh, it was very hot and humid last night. It still is. Dimitri G wants to know what the minimum redemption is for Dugraz points. He's only got 500 of them. It depends on what you use them for. If you go to Tractor Supply Company and pay at the register, it'll ask you if you want to apply your Dugraz points towards purchase. And there's no minimum on those, but the downside is they're only worth 0.8 of a cent per point. So we're working on some other options. Ian says he's got 5,500 now. With the power vested in me by the great membership of Die Hardness, I gift all waiters 5,000 Dugraz points. I'll allow it. Fly and Ryan says my post-chase crackdown is moving me to heavy CIC usage. Maybe because I need to get another or product change my CIU because of the cap. Interesting. I'm not sure what you mean by post-chase crackdown, but I'll take your word for it. All right. And David Gomez wants to know if the CSP covers late YouTube. It's a 6-hour delay. I'm sorry. 1.62 cents per point. Yep, that's right. That's maybe what they're worth. Fly and Ryan. Stopwatch, blue, hand timer, card, red penalty. All right. Ian doesn't know of any YouTube delay insurance. John is just waiting patiently. Sam thinks I'm brushing my hair. You weren't too far off. Mike Newland stops by with the very first donation, and boy, is it a doozy. 20 Dugroz Reports memberships. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, Mike. Coming in strong this morning with the slam dunk there. I really appreciate your generosity. Like I said, my benefactor. I see Don Kim. I see Mojo. I see Green Knight and David Garcia. Mojo says, s'mores, I'm jelly. Yeah, I only got one, but that's okay. John gifted a Dugroz Reports membership. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, John. That's just as good as a $3 super chat. I should say Mike's giftation was just as good as a $60 super chat. Oop, got to get caught up here. I got to the wrong spot. I'm so sorry. Tom Graber gifts one Dugraz Reports membership. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you so much, Tom. I see there are more comments. I see Johnny Jimenez here. Good to see you, Johnny. But the people watching after the fact are going to wonder, why aren't you just getting into it, Doug? You're 6 minutes in. So let's go ahead and do that now. I will catch up and come to everyone else who made a donation. So please bear with me. But we're going to begin, as we often do, with the Dugraz data points. Anything around the world of points and miles that caught my eye this past week, sometimes last couple weeks if I'm a little behind schedule or lazy. First data point, hat tip, Doctor of Credit. The Chase Freedom Flex is now accepting applications. And I know that might sound like that card's been out for a long time, Doug. But they actually took down the ability to apply for the Chase Freedom Flex for like 2 weeks. Sorry, I had Mike Newland's 20 spot gift in my head, 20 membership gift in my head. They took the Chase Freedom Flex applications down for a while. Now they're back with no changes whatsoever. So those of us who thought maybe they're going to do a card refresh, nope. They just pulled it down for whatever reason and brought it back for no apparent reason. Next data point, this one pertains to the Blue Cash Everyday and the Blue Cash Preferred from American Express. There was a minor but important change. And starting on August 1st, it used to be, excuse me, it used to be that you would get a $7 credit towards a Hulu or Disney Plus bundle every month. That has changed now. You get $10 per month as a statement credit if you have the preferred, and $7 per month if you have the everyday. So there's a difference of $3 a month. So what's that? $36 a year. So that kind of chips into that $95 annual fee, certainly. The other interesting thing is, and it says this down here, the statement credit is now for payment of any subscription on Disney Plus or Hulu or ESPN Plus, whereas previously you had to have a bundle. You had to have something like the Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN bundle. We actually use Hulu regularly in our household, plus Disney Plus. We had the lowest level bundle, although during football season, I'll often switch it to the big time bundle so I can watch football games. So I keep this card around just to get free $70-ish every year, if nothing else. It's a super easy use and doesn't change our behavior in any way. All right, resuming the catching up. Got some people saying hi to each other. Jamie says, hey, really enjoying your channel. This is my first live. Thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate it. Good to meet you for the first time, presumably. I see Jay Spain. I see Dong Kim. S'mores with dark chocolate or milk chocolate. I think milk chocolate, but don't quote me on that. Somebody else brought it. Juan Garcia gifted a Dugroz Reports membership. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you so much, Juan. I appreciate it. Just as good as a $3 gift. This is as good a time as any to mention I do have channel memberships. They're called Dugraz Diehards, my one and only channel membership. So if you see me highlighting someone's name like Dong Kim here or Juan, and they have that squiggly little symbol to the right of their name, they're a channel member. If you join while the live stream is going, we'll have a little celebration because it'll say so-and-so joined as a member. And you get access to over 50 members only videos that you can binge. And then if you want to cancel later, you can cancel anytime, no penalty. I think you'll enjoy those. If anybody wants to give a testimonial, by all means, please do. E&M also comes in strong, gifting a $9.99 super chat. Celebrate, celebrate. But I can't gift membership for my phone. No theme needed. The community is all we need. And then there's a little, it looks like OBJ. I can't tell what that says. Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know. But thank you for your gift, Ian. I appreciate that. Mike Newell says, good job, everyone, on the memberships. And I agree. Thank you for encouraging one another. Robert J says, now the bank with the worst customer service has better transfers than Chase or Capital One. Help. That's true. Citi. We'll talk about that maybe just a little. Cat Rep Caterpillar says, hello all. I can't remember if we've met, but if not, good to have you on board. Steve did get the gray screen with 3 dots for the thumbnail. Boo. Jamie says, I got the Strata Elite 100K sub by going to a Citi branch. I activated the card 4 days ago and already hit the 4K in spend by paying health insurance premiums for the rest of the year and my car insurance. That's how you do it, Jamie. Is anytime you have a large expense coming up, if you can get a sub going, that's how you do it. 68 people on board. Keep on clicking the thumbs up button. That'll drive more people in. Maybe we'll clear 100 again today. Ryan did get a thumbnail. Good. And Ron Byrne gifts a channel membership, just as good as $3. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. Dad on a Mission said, I had a gray screen, and then I got the thumbnail 5 to 7 minutes later. Awesome. I'm glad it's fixed now. Robert J gives a $2.99 super sticker. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, Robert. I use StreamYard, so I can't tell what the sticker is. I was watching a stream of John R. not too long ago, and his software will give a verbal description like, a man jumping on a trampoline super sticker was given by Robert. Or mine was, Dugraz Reports donates a super sticker that looks like a cheeseburger. Double animal fries arrived. Good morning. Matt Clausen says, I'm floating around. David Gomez says, I'm at Tractor Supply. LOL. Let me know if the feature is working when you go to pay. Actually, if you recorded yourself asking the cashier, can I use my Dugraz Reports points here? I would love that. Caterpillar Rep laughs at that. All right, I'll come back to that, but let's keep on moving down the road with our data points here. The next one comes from the good people at American Express. There are no lifetime language links floating around for the Business Gold 175,000 membership rewards points. Now, you do have to spend a pretty penny. You have to spend 15,000 in 3 months to get that. And yes, it has the 375 fee. So this isn't necessarily the best offer out there. I've seen 200,000 platinum offers for the same amount of spend. But the key here is this is no lifetime language. I don't have any of the links personally, so go to places like Doctor of Credit, like Upgraded Points, to see if you can find a link if that's something that interests you. Let's just review the current and upcoming transfer bonuses here. The hat tip frequent miler. Ignore the first one. That's built. It's already done. It's only 1 day. You have a 50% transfer bonus from Chase to Marriott that goes through the 15th. That's not very good, so we're probably going to pass that one. With Citi, up until August 23rd, you get a 25% transfer bonus to leading hotels of the world. Don't know a lot about that. I've never used it, but from those I've heard describe it, I think it's a program with a fixed award chart, or not award chart, but a fixed value of those awards. So if that has been helpful to you, give us an example. And then Capital One has a 15% transfer bonus to Avianca Life Miles that goes through the end of the month. Just FYI. This is a personal data point that I thought was kind of interesting. So my office chair, the one I'm sitting on right now, I use it for both live streaming and my 9-to-5 job when I have a work from home day. I needed to buy that, and I have one specific chair at Staples that I really like. I bought the same chair the last 2 times. So I'm just going to buy it again. After being used 4 days a week, sometimes 5 days a week, every day for 3 years, it's starting to fall apart. So that's not surprising. I went to Capital One offers, not Capital One shopping, but actually Capital One offers, where it's in the Capital One app. And it said I would get 5 miles on Staples. But when I clicked shop online, it only took me to Staples print, like copy and print, like if you're getting photocopies or making glossy banners or something like that. And when I clicked the regular Staples icon to go over there, it looked like a whole different URL loaded. So my confidence that I would get it on a chair was low. So I ended up bailing on that and just using Rakuten instead. So I guess I don't really have a moral of the story. If anybody has any data points along those lines, let me know. where you thought you were getting one Capital One offer, but it was actually more limited than it looked like. Rakuten should be fine. It pretty much tracks through on everything. And then just thinking through what happened last week, I hit a milestone. It was the first ever live stream where I cleared 100 people. Look here in the corner. Concurrently, I took the screenshot when I hit 103. I had some people say, hey, you got up to 105. Some people say 104. Some people say 108. I think one person said they briefly saw 109. When I went to my YouTube analytics right after the video, it said 106, but then it revised that a couple days later, and the official number, look down here, was 109. So I now have a new record. The most ever concurrent viewers on my live stream was 109. So thank you, everyone, for helping us hit that milestone. More comments. Ian says, I'm putting a scream applier in your backyard for being late. I don't know what that means, but I don't think I want one. New Again says, what's up, y'all? In my opinion, Chase has worse customer service than Citi, but Chase has better IT. I haven't had to use Chase customer service much. Actually, that time over in York, England, that they kept putting a fraud alert on my wife's Aeroplan card over and over wasn't great. And they keep locking her business login out, and I don't know why. So I'm not in love with that, but I still had that one terrible experience at Citi that I'll make a video of someday when I finally calm down. In the words of Homer Simpson, anger fading, fading, rising, fading. Congrats. Thank you, Jamie's. And some people saying hi to each other. Flyin says, Chase correct on ink trains is what I meant. Also look like some emojis don't show well on StreamYard. That's true. Okay, yes, I got you. Yeah, they definitely have cracked down the ink train. Dennis said, speaking of credit cards, which to use to get your points, plan your trip first, then plan your point strategy. I don't disagree, but I maybe would say easier said than done, depending on a variety of factors. I know like Uncle Luke schedules all his trips a year in advance. John's asking Matt about a hot air balloon. I don't know what that's referencing, but that's certainly okay. And QC Man, the quality control man himself, gifts 1 Dugroz Reports membership. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you so much, QC Man. I appreciate your patronage. I do need to correct something that I said on my live stream last week. I said I would give like some Dugraz points to whoever donates a super sticker less than 99 cents. I could have sworn once I saw a super sticker for 49 cents recently, so I thought it was possible. But then I tried to do it on John's live stream and realized, no, it wasn't possible. At least on my computer, the smallest live stream was 99 cents. There was one for $1.49, which was kind of interesting. So that's probably what got stuck in my head. So instead, today I'll give 1,000 Dugraz points to whoever makes the first donation of $1.49. Sam says, if anyone wants to have an elevator themselves without being bothered by others, simply fart and it will clear out the elevator. You're welcome. That was random. Thanks, Sam. Yep. All right, RemGB says 61 watching, only 22 likes. Everybody, please click like. Thank you. Herr Muntz says him or her, I'm not sure, became a YouTube member. Celebrate, celebrate. Da, 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 da. See, I told you there'd be a celebration if you join while the live stream's going. That looks like German to me, Herr. So if you're on board right now, and speak up and just let us know what brought you to the channel, that would be cool. No obligation. You don't have to, of course. Matt still thinks the freedoms are going to get refreshed. Mertz came by. Mertz's Points and Miles, big-time YouTuber, still working the way up to 1,000 subs, if I'm not mistaken. So go over to his channel, click like, give him a sub. $1.99 super chat. Celebrate, celebrate. And as a data point says this, I got a 10,000 point redemption bonus on my altitude reserve on Thursday. Hey, that's pretty good. That could maybe make it worth keeping around another year. Of course, I want to see what happens with the transfer partners before committing to that. Jay Spain says, I called in to product change my Freedom Unlimited this week, and the only option was the OG Freedom. No flex available for product change. This was a couple days after applications opened back up. That does make me think something's going down. Let's keep on going with our data points here, and then I'll come back to comments. I believe friend of the channel, Ron B., let us know last week that he got this offer on his Hyatt card. Well, this week I got the offer on my Aeroplan card. What's interesting is I didn't get it until like the first week of August, but it said the offer is valid July 1st through September 30th. And it's 5 total points on up to $1,000 spent at grocery, gas, and restaurants. So easy way to get 5,000 potential points. So go out to Chase offers, and this is probably on their co-branded cards like United, Aeroplan, IHG, that kind of stuff. And obviously, like IHG points aren't worth nearly as much as Hyatt, and Aeroplan would be somewhere in the middle. But just see if you've got that targeted offer. I don't even remember how to get there. I just go to the Doctor of Credit article, click the link, and he will get you to the right place. I will often recognize people who have their 12-month channel membership anniversary, but we didn't have any when I checked earlier this week. So instead, I decided to do something of a Hall of Fame members here. This is a list of my 10 to 12 oldest channel members. So I'll go ahead and recognize them at this time. David Hamilton, Jacob Hess, Scott Saul, Philmo, Chad Pennycuff, The One CEO, AJB, Zachary Hageland, AP, Matt Clausen, and Ryan Siebers. Thank you all have had at least 18 months of membership or more. Interestingly, I kind of remember when I first launched a membership, I think David Hamilton and Jacob Hess signed up on the same day. Scott might have also, maybe Philmo did too. I don't remember. David beat Jacob by like a couple minutes. So David, if you want to always be listed as my oldest member, you got to keep that going. Although I haven't heard from you in a while. So if any of these folks are on board right now, speak up. I know Matt is, but other than Matt, I'd love to hear from the top 3, David, Jacob, and Scott. Thank you all for keeping and maintaining that membership. Keeping and maintaining are basically synonyms. So what I meant to say was getting and maintaining those memberships. Ready for a dad joke? I told a joke on a Zoom meeting at work today. Nobody laughed. Turns out I'm not even remotely funny. All right. I had mentioned how my plan was to, via Player 2, apply for the Chase Sapphire Preferred instead of the City Strata Premier, because I'm mostly just doing it as a one-time play. And friend of the channel, Spathco, helped me think that through on the Stack Your Points Discord, Mathnasium, hat tip to the Discord. So that was the offer, 75,000 points. There's a 15,000 point referral bonus. And I am pleased to report that Player 2, well, first of all, she got this waiting message. We need to review your application 7 to 10 days. However, when we woke up the very next morning, there it was right there on our login. We have an approved Sapphire Preferred with a $5,000 credit limit. Kind of low, but once it's been up for a little while, should be able to move that around. Haven't even got the card in the mail yet, but I'm excited to start working the way towards a new sub, a 90,000 point, well, 75,000 point sub, functionally 90,000 points with the referral put in place. So I would rather do a $95 annual fee for 90,000 points than a $600 or $700 annual fee for 100,000 points. But that's just me. Got to blow my nose here, folks. I apologize. I was rushing around so this morning I didn't take my anti-coughing pills till the last second. Quality Control Man says ESPN is introducing their new premium streaming platform simply named ESPN. I sure think that simplifies things, but that seems to be confusing, to be honest. It'll confuse all the older men who just want to find it on their cable provider. Cesar is here. Mi hermano, how you doing, mi hermano? Glad to see you this morning. I'll actually be using San Juan, Puerto Rico as an example later in the show, so stick around. We can all go hang out with Cesar. Mert said, I made a video about how the changes weren't cancel worthy. This is the altitude reserve. But the more I reflect on it, I just can't handle another portal credit. I'm leaning towards a cash plus product change next year, if possible. Well, you've got a whole year to kind of figure it out since you got a retention offer recently. I assume that means you paid your annual fee. And even if you just use the $325, get your retention offer, it's worth it right now. Cesar. All right. Never tried s'mores with dark chocolate. We'll have to try, says Jake. And Mert says, I do think that if this exact card, 3X everywhere with transfer partners, was announced by another bank, people would lose their mind. Looks bad compared to the OP USB AR. Yeah, I could get into that, but I think I'm going to pass for now. I think I've made my feelings pretty clear. It has to do with sort of the synergy of the card, how the credit and real-time rewards all works together. But I do agree with you. If Wells Fargo came out with a 3X on all mobile wallet card and it had nothing else for the exact same portal credit, exact same annual fee, I do think there'd be 50 videos from all the most popular creators in 12 seconds. Good morning, JC. And New Again says, man, that elite sub is tasty, though. 4K for 100,000 points. Deciding that combo or 2 other subs. I get that. Happy Tom arrived. Good to see you. Kevin Hawthorne arrived from Lakeland, Florida. And we got some people talking about ESPN Plus and soccer and all that kind of stuff. I won't get into that. Sebastit says, I always watch the replays, but this is the first time I caught you live. Awesome. Good to see you. I don't know how you pronounce that. Sebasist. Super happy to have you on board. Thanks for being here. Good to meet you. Catch says we should try to make it 100 viewers as the norm. And FC drops a $4.99 super sticker. Celebrate. Thank you so much, FC. I appreciate your patronage. Happy Tom says, regarding Rakuten, I do a lot of hotel offers. You need to take a look at the terms and conditions. The specific hotel brand can matter. I'm looking at you, IHG. Ian is referencing the Screama pillar from The Simpsons. I thought you'd know that. That one didn't hit me. So either one of two things, I just plain missed it, or it was something beyond the 10th season. New Again says, Doug, wow, maybe Chase is bad or worse IT than Citi then, at least for our house. Yep. Certainly Chase and Citi aren't spectacular. But other than Amex, who is? Anybody have an opinion on who has the best customer service and IT in the credit card industry? Not Discover, someone with transferable points. Who's second best only to Amex? Ryan says, I'm curious how many others experience what we did with Citi. Seem too identical. Well, if you go out on message boards, it seems like everyone. Somebody said something like, apparently Citi thinks me buying things at the same place I've shopped for the last 20 years is frequently fraud worthy. Talking about Chase. All right. What about IHG and Rakuten? New Again wants to know more. JC says Chase is stingy with multipliers compared to Amex and Citi. Sam K gifts 1 Dugroz Reports membership. Celebrate. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It is a gloomy day today, so there's not a lot of light here. I feel like I'm in the dark. All right, let me move on with data points and such. Next Dugraz data point. Got to put away Sam's comment here. Bigginize the screen. Hat tip upgraded points. Chase adds new limits to rental car coverage on popular travel credit cards. Now, don't panic if you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve or, as far as I'm aware, the Ritz-Carlton. This does not impact you. But for other cards, Chase recently added a $60,000 limit to the amount it will pay for auto rental collision damage waiver. Probably not a big deal, but this would be like the CSP, the CIP, presumably like the Aeroplan card, which is not primary in your home country, but outside your home country is. One moment. And I saw Matt Clausen bring this up, so hat tip to him. And he said something like, this is probably not an issue for most of us because we're probably not renting luxury vehicles, but something to keep in mind, story time. When I went to Las Vegas for the first ever creator meetup in the fall of 2023, I think it was Hertz. I rented either a mid-size or a full-size vehicle. And when I got there, because I was President's Circle, they didn't like let me pick because I think they were kind of busy and it was close to closing. And the young man saw me walking towards it and he just said, "Why don't you just take that SUV right there?" And handed me the keys, and it was a big honking SUV. Actually, now that I think about it, why didn't they let me select my own vehicle? But for whatever reason, a young man walked up to me who worked there and handed me the keys and said, "Go and take this SUV." And it was a tricked out SUV that I'm guessing has a replacement price over 60,000 points. So $60,000. Points on the brain. So the bottom line is, if you are renting with one of those cards like the Inc. Business Preferred or the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Aeroplan card, you might want to turn down a free upgrade to a really nice car and just say, "You know what? I prefer a smaller vehicle. Can I just have the Kia Sorento or whatever that I had originally asked for?" Robert says, "I got that Chase 5X offer on my Prime card." Awesome. I got an email from Chase. I'm going to skip over a few comments just because I'm so far behind here. Sam wants to know if anybody got the membership. It doesn't always give it to people that are watching. Sometimes it gives it to people that aren't watching, but I think it's okay because frequently Mike Newland has made donations and people will pop on and say, "Hey, I just got your donation. Thank you." New Again says, "City over Chase every day and 6 times on Sunday and Saturday nights, and Bilt's about to make Chase Hyatt connection useless. Good riddance to Chase." Okay. You must have had a bad experience then. Let's see. D Green says, "Thanks, Ron." No. "Thanks, John R. I got the membership you gifted." Awesome. And here we go. AS says, "Thanks, Sam K, for the membership." So see, it is working. Excellent. Flying Ryan says, "My wife said if I get her another bad gift, she's going to burn it. So I think I'll get her a candle." That must have been what QC Man was reacting to. All the dads love the dad jokes or dad to be. I like to refer to it as the mature Discord. I'm not sure what that's a reference to. See, this is what happens when I get behind. JC says, "I'm at 624 currently, signed up for 4 personal cards and 1 business card since May. Locked out of Chase till spring of 26, hoping for an elevated offer." Dennis Dunn says, "Nice job on the preferred card." And Cesar says, "Can't wait to see you again during the PR meetup, mi hermano." I can't wait to see you either. And I am going to do everything in my power to get there. I do have to say, I haven't actually been approved for the time off work yet. So everybody, cross your fingers, or if you're a praying type person, pray for me that no one in my family gets sick between now and November so I can save my days off work. My company just has one big pool of days off work. It doesn't break it down by like sick days, vacation days, that kind of stuff. So if you get sick for 3 weeks, I guess you just aren't taking a vacation. Matt says, "Wells with a USB-R equivalent without a 1.5 option would be problematic." I don't think it'd be problematic, maybe less than ideal. What if it was 1.25? Texas Dog has arrived. Clairvoyant has arrived. No problem being late. I'm going to use my Rakuten credit card with 100x on NordVPN offer today. Whoa. Mike says, 10:30 count, 93 on board. Hit that like button. Thanks, Mike. Stephen Cohen says, "I earned my free night certificate on the Hilton Surpass, 15K spend, then upgraded to the Aspire. Amex gave me another free night cert. Now Amex is showing I'm only 15 away from another cert." Hey, awesome. You can get 3 of them. And that reminds me, I have to use mine by, I think, October. And I'm pretty sure the way it works, I'm taking a screenshot here if you're wondering, just to remind myself. I'm pretty sure the way it works is as long as you book by the expiration, even if the travel's in the future, you're okay. So what's that place in Puerto Rico everybody wants to stay? The Hilton Fire something or another. Maybe some availability will open up there if I'm lucky. Anybody know if this will work? I feel like it's double counting the same 15K. I don't know, but Matt says it'll work fine. Herr Muntz says, "Guten Morgen, Herr Dugraz." Thank you. I speak German. I just don't understand it. I apologize. But very happy to see you on board. Here were my go-to words when I was in Austria. Hallo. Danke. How did I do? All right. Matt says the 15K on the Surpass will stack to the Aspire. Great. Everson L's on board. I don't think we've met before. Good to see you, Everson. "I opened a City double cash back in March and a custom cash in June. I received the sub on the double cash. Custom cash, but not the double cash. Citi refuses to pay the sub of the double cash. They're saying 1 sub per family card. Ugh. That's terrible. I've never heard that before. And they need to make that like crystal clear. Their system should be good enough to tell you right up front, you can get this card, but you won't get a sub because you opened a different card within the past 6 months or something. But we all know Citi has trash ecosystems or trash infrastructure. As Sledge would say, Citi's infrastructure isn't just trash. It's trash, trash, trash. I feel like I've got terrible posture this morning, so let's sit up, Doug. Nuracan's arrived. Good morning. Steven says the Waldorf Astoria, Costa Rica, shoring standard room nights for President's Weekend. I want to hit it. Great. Matt says, I'm thinking of the Hilton Caribe. Yes, I am. And Chris Sevi says, thanks, Matt. If the Apple Card goes to Chase and becomes a 2x UR point card for 0 annual fee, could the USBR still compete? I'll have to think that one over. Good question. Jacob Hess arrives and is catching up. Matt says, I doubt the Apple Card would get UR points. I agree with that. Sam has some opinions on the Tesla Cybertruck. And yes, thanks for the shout out. You're welcome. I don't remember. Oh, yes, Jacob, you were one of the first 12 or so diehards. Were you the second one in line? You were, yes. There you are right there. So good to see you today. Are you disappointed that David beat you to the number 1 slot by a few minutes? Okay, let's keep going with our data points here. Everyone's favorite game. We don't take Amex. I normally pay my water bill on auto pay, so I really don't pay a lot of attention to it. But because I'm working on a sign-up bonus on my U.S. Bank Triple Cash business card, I need to direct most of my spend there to hit the sub. So I actually had to log in to pay my water bill. And while doing so, I just happened to notice this. Well, what do we see down here? Visa, MasterCard, Discover. What do we not see? We don't see American Express. So apparently the city that I live in, actually not the whole, but most of the greater Des Moines area uses Des Moines Waterworks. Des Moines Waterworks does not let you pay your bill with an American Express card. So take that, American Express. Next data point here. This one is a mention I've made a couple times. Both of my parents have the no annual fee Hilton card, and they were targeted for a spending offer. I think it was like every time you spend $4,000 on your card, or maybe it was $3,000, I don't remember what, you get an extra 4,500 points, which isn't great considering what Hilton points are worth. But if you're going to spend the money anyway, you might as well. So just to show that did actually post to their account, they got all 3 increments. So 4,500 times 3, they got 13,500 extra Hilton points. And this wasn't on a particular category. It was you could spend it on anything. Matt says, I'd love the Apple Card to get UR points. I also don't think they will give UR points. I think it'll just be cash back. Mike Newland says, my water bill doesn't take Amex either. Tiger Maple's feeding the algorithm. Steve says, there's no way they're getting UR points. The customer base is pretty bad and profitability is probably pretty low. If anything, they're going to be tightening the requirements. Well, that's certainly possible. All right, we've got 3 more data points left here before we get into the kind of sort of theme of the day. 81 people on board. Please keep on clicking that button, folks. Aeroplan has an elevated offer right now, at least elevated compared to their traditional offer. Normally, the best you can get is about 75,000 Aeroplan points in your sign-up bonus. When I got it, it was like 50,000, which was fairly lame. But 85,000 points after you spend 4,000, none of that 2-tier or 2-tranche thing. Hat tip to Jacob's Points and Profit. I saw this on his video about it. He gave me a hat tip also, so I guess we're all buds here. This is one of the few credit cards from Chase that doesn't have a refer a friend offer. This is not the public offer, but there is some way to get there, and I don't know what it is. So if you're interested in it, just head on over to Jacob's Points and Profits YouTube channel, look up his video, and he tells you how to get there. Texas Dog says, my gas and water charge a percentage fee to use a credit card. That's a bummer. At least mine doesn't have that. And Jake T says, my daughter's university doesn't take Amex. I need to start like a whole page or channel or something called We Don't Take Amex, and everybody could just mail me their pictures of places not taking Amex. I don't know. Would that be popular or would nobody care? Next up, also on the theme of Aeroplan, the Chase Sapphire Reserve is offering 5K points off an Aeroplan award if you're a card holder. I don't remember exactly how you load this, but I think you'll get an email or something, or just poke around or Google it or something like that. But if you have the CSR, you can get like basically an Aeroplan coupon worth 5K. Unfortunately, you don't just get 5K. And Frequent Miler said something like, load this maybe towards the end of the promo, although I don't think there's a lot left, so that you have a full year to use it. I don't know that I think maybe what they said is terms and conditions don't specify whether it's on partner awards or just their own medal. But as far as we can tell, there's nothing preventing you from using it on a partner award. Now, just to clarify, this has to do with the Aeroplan program, not the Aeroplan's credit card. So you would not be able to use this towards pay yourself back as far as I can tell. But that does seem worth doing because maybe you'll use it. Mert says, by the way, thanks for the shout out. Still have a long way to go to reach 1,000 subs. That's all right. We all started somewhere. Texas Dog says, has anyone signed up for the 5K reward? I did this week and am waiting for the reward. Your guess is as good as mine. Chris Sevi says, the Sapphire rework removed bonus redemption on UR points, maybe in preparation of Apple Card UR points or Freedom Card mobile wallet. One can hope. Not optimistic. Sam K says, little humor with serious subjects keeps things interesting. I agree with that. I will also just let me grab something real quick here. Be right back. See, I didn't have to go very far. I did get this cool flyer in the mail from Chase recently on the Chase Sapphire Reserve because I already have one, basically explaining how the card is changing and how amazing and valuable it is. And this all goes into effect on October 26th. I will say this card is not targeted for me because they talk about people going out and spending all their money on the nightlife on all these things that I'm like, I just min-max it. So I'll go over that sometime, maybe, if I remember it. Raymond says you get a 5K travel certificate if you register your CSR this month. Yep, it's a certificate coupon. It's not actual points. And New Again says to Chris, no, Chase nerfed the USSR program because they're stingy and anti-customer. Steve also has not received the certificate yet. And then the last ordinary Dugraz data point of the day, hat tip to Matt Clausen because he brought it to my attention, but it was out on Doctor of Credit and other places. I just went straight to the horse's mouth. There's a rumor going around that the Barclays City Advantage card, AA Advantage, which is a $99 annual fee card, is going away on the last day of the quarter. So the last day of September. 30 days past September. September 30th. It is a rumor, but Matt and I both feel like it's a pretty credible rumor. The person who posted on Reddit said, my brother or brother-in-law or someone is a flight attendant, and this was a notification sent out to all of them. Something that I'm thinking through is this. So we know that Citi is now the exclusive issuer of American Airlines cards, and we don't know with certainty when that's going to go into effect, but basically, closing applications on the last day of the quarter kind of makes sense. And then maybe sometime fourth quarter or first quarter of the following year, they'll all move over to Citi. Probably that's even a little optimistic, but 50,000 miles for making one purchase and a $99 annual fee ain't bad. Now the card is pretty lame on an ongoing basis. It's like 2x on American, 1x on everything else. It's like, whoop-de-doo. But what I'm wondering is, would this be a good fit for me? And here's my thought. For me, I really like corn. So let's say Citi is pretty awesome, but I know in the past, like they denied me for a double cash. They're really stingy on approvals. So it's almost like a backdoor way to get into the Citi ecosystem. Now, we can't guarantee they would let me switch over to a thank you point card like the double cash or another custom cash, but maybe. Would you blow a 524 slot if you were me? I'm going to be down to 324 in the near future as soon as this month is over. But it's just something I'm kind of thinking over. You know, should I hop on this before the end of the quarter? QC I think this 50J, is that a joke? Because I said 50K, HIJK. I don't know, 50,000 miles. You just buy a pack of gum, make one purchase, you get it, that kind of thing. Barclays is probably approving cards like candy because they know they're all going to be bought out eventually. Oh boy, got a lot of comments in the last couple moments here. Sam wants everyone to click likes. It's free. Hey, 97, that's close. QC Man says, we know you're big into the Iowa nightlife scene, Doug. Oh, absolutely. Heading over to Hardee's, heading over to random Mexican restaurants. They know me. What's that beach line from a Beach Boys sign? Yeah, the bad guys know us and they leave us alone. That applies to me. The bad guys know me and they leave me alone because they know what's up. They aren't going to throw down with me. Vincent Pascal says, yesterday I saw a sign outside a shop that said, we accept all major credit card, especially your husband's. Hey, as a husband, I'm not super fond of that, but it is kind of funny. Nuracan says, I got pre-approved for the U.S. Altitude Connect for 30K sub. I'm hesitant to accept because I don't know if it'll be able to combine points with the Altitude Reserve. My annual fee hits on the Altitude Reserve right before the refresh. So are you thinking like, excuse me, cough coming on. So you're probably thinking, accept the pre-approval, sign up for the card, get your 30,000 points, move it over to the Altitude Reserve, and before the refresh, before the RTR at 1.5 goes away, use it. If that's what you're thinking, that will not work, Nurakan, because right now you cannot combine points between the Altitude Reserve and any other card that is a point-earning card with U.S. Bank. There's a little teeny tiny asterisk that there is a grandfathered card that's called like the Flex Perks Gold card, I think, that you can move a certain amount over to the Altitude Reserve. But unless you have that really obscure grandfathered card, the Connect and the Go, as of now, do not share points with the Altitude Reserve. We're all wanting to know that after the refresh, will it be allowed? You know, is it the kind of thing where it's going to be kind of like Chase? You have to have an Altitude Reserve to transfer points to partners, but you can take, you know, the connector Go and feed points in. None of us know what's going to happen. So it is a bit of a gamble. If you think you want to keep the Connect in the long run, I say go for it. But if you're just doing it on the hopes that it'll be shareable, that would not be a risk worth taking in my book. New Again is still harping on Chase. All that money on paper marketing mailers destined for the trash on a trash card. Brilliant. I've got a whole year to, what's the word I'm looking for? Test drive it. Actually, I think I took a screenshot here that I meant to share with y'all, and I forgot. Got a couple data points I forgot to share. Do you guys mind me doing last second data points? It does involve me having to edit things on the fly to make sure I don't accidentally show my credit card number. So let me do that real quick. There's one. I know this doesn't make for great live TV, but bear with me here. There's two. All right, so the one that's on topic here I'll show first. So take a look there. My balance on my Sapphire Reserve card is exactly $550. Does anybody want to raise their hand and guess why the balance is exactly $550? Do 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 do. Yeah, okay. Everybody knows the answer to this. It's really not a secret. It's because my annual fee hit. So, like I said, my annual fee was going to hit sometime this summer. It did hit last week. So I've got a whole year to test drive under the old annual fee structure before it goes up to $795. Is that right? Almost $800. Yeah, I think that's right. So starting in October, per the brochure, I'll get all the new stuff. So not a full year, but almost a year. And I'll work through my $300 broad-based travel credit. I've actually already used a small amount of that. I think I got a cough. Thanks, Nuracan. Robert J said, I got the Barclays AA card. I couldn't help myself. Yep, can't blame you for not being able to help yourself. Texas Dog says, normally my CSR annual fee would be due in February. I'm curious to see what happens this time. My understanding is if it's later than October, you'll get the new annual fee. Sorry about that. FC says, Progressive Insurance does not take Amex, but does take PayPal. I just linked my Amex to PayPal and it went through. Awesome. Another comment about 50J. Oh, here's the clarification. I think this 50K offer also waives the first year fee. Let me see. There's a little .1 there, and I just took a screenshot, so I can't scroll down. Sorry. You might be right. Let me know. Vincent said, I just product changed from the Aviator Red to the Aviator Silver. There's a FedEx truck outside. Excuse me. I just product changed from the Aviator Red to Aviator Silver over the phone. I found that it can help to ask for product changes over the phone, even if they don't offer it on their website. I know a lot of people will do that. They'll get this lame little Aviator Red and then product change to the Silver, which is only available kind of sort of by invitation. And I don't remember what the Silver gives you, just that it's better. Robert says, I'm hoping this will give me an extra city card after the transition, so I'll product change. I also have 4, and they won't give me more otherwise. I assume you already have 4 cards from city. That's the exact same thing I'm thinking. I have 3 city cards. Last I checked, although it has been 9 months or so, maybe more, they wouldn't give me more. Sam says, is the Fallout 4 charge card worth getting? It's card related, even though from a game. I don't know anything about that, Sam. And I'm so sorry. As we've mentioned before, the credit card earning structure in the UK and in the US are going to be quite different. So if it was here in the US, what I would say is probably not. Probably just getting a cash back card, using it to buy your video games is probably going to be more lucrative, but I can't say it. Dennis Dunn says, go for it, Doug. In through the back door. Well, that is something I might do. Sleepy Rod says the ink train seems dead. So does 524 still matter? Honestly, I'm not sure. Like I said, my wife got approved for the CSP, but she was under 524 anyway. So I don't know how much of a factor that is. Catch 631 says, I'll be curious to find out what you do with the Red Aviator. I'm considering later this month. American ends up being a frequent airline for me when I fly out from Des Moines. Oh, that's right. I just learned recently, Catch, you're an Iowan just like me. I'd like to know more about that, but obviously I respect your privacy. So maybe if I say, I will stand at the main entrance to 801 Grand on Tuesday at 1 o'clock if you want to come hang out for 5 minutes and introduce yourself. Not literally, but I could do something like that. Matt Clausen says, Barclays is getting paid. City's about to light the money on fire. I did ask Matt this question, and I don't even remember how you answered. Is there any chance Barclays turns down the offer to sell their portfolio to City? To City. How bad would it have to be? Because none of us know what the behind-the-scenes agreement are, but the last time they upped with American Airlines, however long ago Barclays did that, 5 years ago, 12 years ago, I don't know. I'm guessing there probably wasn't a clause in the contract that says, oh, by the way, if we decide in the future to force you to sell your cards to some other issuer, you have to do that. Maybe that was in their contract. I don't know. Nurican says, thank you. You're welcome. John says, 97 watching, 52 likes. Let's get that number up. And you're welcome. No problem. John says, annual fee hit. Are you referencing your altitude reserve? I forget what that's about. Annual fee. This is what happens when I'm behind. I apologize. Robert says, hey, exposing your personal data online makes for great TV. Ask Joe. Yeah, that's why I'll even cross out little things like the name of my city or the last 4 of the card. I did forget once, but I'm not going to tell you when. Although I'll just say it's since been rectified. Sam K wants us to smash the like button. And Hermuntz says, I would like to buy $50 worth of Dugraz points. Awesome. Thank you. Celebrate. Wow. I really appreciate that. So I haven't decided what the buy-in rate is. Do you think it should be 1 cent per point? I'm just going to say I'm going to say half a penny each. So that's 10,000 Dugraz points. Thank you so much, Hare. I appreciate it. Flying Ryan grabbed the aviator with the 0 intro free. I'll have to look around for the right link. If you find it, can you send it to me? That'd be awesome. Especially if you get some sort of refer a friend. I don't know if you do or don't. Cesar says, my CSR annual fee was supposed to show up May 16th, but it hasn't shown up yet. I do plan to downgrade even with the $625 annual fee. Must have a AU involved, authorized user. What was I going to say? Something made me think about that. So I've had a Sapphire card for quite a long time, and I've upgraded, downgraded multiple times, preferred, reserve. And it seems like every time I do that, it pushes the renewal date back about a month because they have to give you a grace period or something. So maybe that would be a factor, Cesar. Robert says, yes, I got 0 annual fee in the first year. Great. Texas Dog gifts 5 Dugraz Reports membership. Celebrate. Thank you, Texas Dog. That's just as good as a $15 super chat. I can't remember if I celebrated Hare's gift or not. Let me go back to it. Celebrate. Thank you. Appreciate it. Dennis says, I love the world's biggest truck stops in Iowa. Great buffet. I didn't know they had a buffet. I'll have to stop there sometime. That is in Walcott, Iowa. It's between Cedar Rapids and the Illinois border. Sam K says, charge card is an in-game item. It's not real. I'm just asking card questions. You did great even though you don't play video games. I play some video games, but my video game playing is either very easy brain rot games or classic games. Like I have no objection to breaking open the original NES Legend of Zelda from time to time. I have to be really careful because I have very little free time with taking care of my parents, my YouTube channel, my full-time job, having a family, church responsibilities, being a decent friend, family member, etc. There's lots of good things out there that I don't do because I know it would be addictive for me. For example, I know John R., if you're still on board, plays the video game Eve, EVE, a lot and loves it so much that he flies to hang out with other Eve players. I actually got an advertisement for it the other day, and I watched it because I thought of you, and I was like, that looks like a great game. I better not touch it. The thought process being is, if I get into it, I'm going to get way into it. I don't wade into those kind of things. I actually, even though Minecraft has been around for 15 years, my boys got into Minecraft about 2 or 3 years ago, and I tried it on our Nintendo Switch and loved it. Basically, I play wrong. I just build things because it's fun to build things. And I got into a habit where every night from like 10 to midnight, I was playing it for like 2 weeks. And eventually I just had to go cold turkey and say, I cannot do this. I don't have time for it. So that's why I don't get into like world building type games. They're too addictive for me. Ian says, another Saturday driving to the Cape with Dugraz. Cape Canaveral? Too Easy says 1.25 with. Don't know what that's about. Matt says Barclays is pretty pot committed. What happened last time is AA went to Citi to be exclusive and Citi said no. This time around, they've committed to be the exclusive issuer. Idiot. A funny slip of the tongue. Clairvoyant said that would be 25K points then. No. I don't know. I'm good at math with a calculator, but I'm not good at math in my brain. Ketch says, if you want to know or discuss more about being in the Iowa area, this is also my name on Discord. I'm on the Anthony Venture channel. Don't there often. Feel free to message. Yeah, you can feel free to message me too. I'm on that Discord also. Matt says, so part of that is buying the back book. I imagine 10-1 to 12/31 is negotiating the final price. Don't gyp the man out of his 15K Dugraz points. All right, well, you just tell me how much he should get, and I'll give it to him. Matt says, but I think it was already agreed to since Barclays is giving them away. John is here. All right. New Again says, I'm going to inform frequent miler and points guy Doug has set a value for his points can only redeem for ISU merch. You have to go in person to the college store in Ames, though. John says, EVE Online is a rabbit hole because it's a complex game. Yep, that's what I meant. Sam says, we're at 24 degrees Celsius with 40% humidity in the UK. Do you know roughly what that translates into in Fahrenheit? We were over 90% humidity here in Iowa yesterday. Although I'm certainly not an expert at weather in the United Kingdom, something that has struck me on my 2 visits is that it's not that the temperature is a little lower that makes it so wonderful. It's that the humidity is way lower than it is here in many parts of the United States. Sleepy Ron wants to know what my next 3 credit card applications are. I don't know. Maybe the one that's on the screen will be one of them, the AA Advantage Aviator Red. Maybe. If I could get a sign-up bonus on the Capital One Saver card, I would like to get that. Of course, my strategy right now is once we get beyond summer a little bit, like maybe into late September, something like that, apply for the Marriott Bonvoy, really any of the Chase personal Marriott cards, so that a year from now I can take the path to the Chase Ritz-Carlton card. Other than that, I'm just not 100% sure. Thank you for asking. Flying Ryan says, shoot, you're in my neck of you're in my neck of the woods, shoot me a Discord message. Oh, he's saying that to Ian. Okay. TH says, how many miles on your Kia Soul? Reliable so far? Very. Now, bear in mind, I work from home all but one weekday every week. So 72,000, something like that. And it's a 2013. I bought it in 2015. The dealer told me the original owner was like a 16-year-old girl who was a spoiled brat. Her daddy was a dentist or doctor or something like that who was well-known in town and very wealthy. Bought it for her brand new. She owned it for less than 2 years, and then I got to reap the rewards. So if it's 72 now, start at 20. I've put about 50,000, 52,000 miles on it, which isn't much. It's just a get-around town type car. I've literally had no problems with it. I've just had to do routine maintenance. That's it. Sam wants to know if I'll be getting the Golden Tee cell phone. I ask because it claims to save money on calls. I don't know anything about that, so I will screenshot it and we'll see what's going on. Matt says, unverified reports have it that Citi is no longer sending out emails with the Citi Strata Elite in-branch offer. Kind of funny. Interesting. JP wants to know how frequently can you apply for the AA Red card for the bonus? I have no idea. Sam says it's approximately 75.2 degrees with 40% humidity. That sounds awesome. Dennis says, a soul that doesn't burn oil? You lucky. Are a lot of them known for that? I think there is I'm not a car guy, but just from little things I've picked up on in the past, there's kind of a theory out there in the world of cars, like when you get a car, you either get a clunker or you don't. And it's kind of luck of the draw, even within the same make and model. You might get a clunky Kia Soul or a wonderful Kia Soul. What mood was the guy who tightens all the nuts and bolts in the mood for when he made it? If you find that you have a reliable car, keep it as long as you can because you have gotten lucky and you don't have a clunker. The other screenshot I was going to show it's not really even a data point, it's just being dumb. This is a picture of my Wells Fargo autograph in my mobile wallet. My last 4 transactions. Do you notice where I like to go? And do you think I consistently like to get the same item? So if you want to know how much a medium-sized fountain drink and 1 slice of Casey's Pizza costs, it's $4.58. Tiger Maple says, do you have any plans to apply for the Alaska Premium card when it launches later this month? Did you sign up for the early link back in November? I did sign up for the link that got you, was it 500 Alaska points just for signing up? Probably not, just because I don't know if it fits into my overall strategy, but I want to keep an open mind. I don't love the idea of getting a Bank of America card because that's a whole new ecosystem for me. And I want simplicity. If I died or had a health event, I want my wife to be able to easily manage my cards. Adding another card within one issuer is not a big deal because if she figures out my login, they're all right there. But adding a whole nother issuer is a little more complexity. I just got rid of my Fifth Third Bank card, which I had for a sign-up bonus. So 0% intro offer for 18 months. So I'm down to, I have the 5 major transferable ones, US Bank and Barclays. So I've got 7 ecosystems. I really don't want to go into a 5th one, but If it had an amazing sign-up bonus or some feature that I just couldn't live without, then I would. I knew what you meant. JP says, I applied for the United Business Card yesterday and got put in as under review. Hopefully I get approved. 100K United miles would be nice. This has been a slow year for me on the earning side. Yeah, it would be. Sign-up bonuses are where it's at. It's not awesome heat in the UK that are designated to trap heat for longer, unlike US homes that are designed to release heat. Yeah, okay, I get that. Dennis wants to know if 666 I was feeling devilish. No, that's just what something or another came up with. I knew what you meant, Sam. Thank you. Ryan says, when my family stopped at Casey's, we were in a hurry and got 7 slices. The guy charges for a large pizza instead since it was cheaper. That was very nice of him. I think 8 slices per pizza. Actually, we ate Casey's pizza 2 nights ago, so it was good. Yes, the best pizza in the state of Iowa is sold at a gas station. It's true. All right, that takes care of the Dugraz data points. Let's go ahead and transition into our kind of sort of theme of the day here, and that is an Ask Me Anything combined with a mini theme. Now let me show you how I came up with the miniature theme. I'm going to share this tab over here, which is my YouTube channel. 20 hours ago, I did a poll about what topic you want to hear me discuss the most. And what I did was I went out to my diehards, my channel members, said, go ahead and suggest topics, and then I'll turn it into a poll. And we had the following 4 topics. There was more than 4. I did some culling, but this is what I came up with. One option was, what are on your bucket list for trips and travel goals? That was suggested by Ron B. How much spend to direct to which ecosystem? That was hat tip Richard B. Channel growth, direction, and insights. Again, Ron B. And then my 5 to 10 worst credit card ideas, anonymous. Just full disclosure, sometimes when I say anonymous, I am suggesting the idea myself. Sometimes it's actually someone who wants to be anonymous or sends it to me offline. So I just say anonymous so that, we can kind of mix it all together. Channel growth, direction, insight wasn't very popular. Sorry, Ron. 5 to 10 worst credit card ideas wasn't very popular. Sorry, anonymous. Bucket list trips, travel goals came in second, but with a majority, the winner was how much spend to direct to which ecosystem, proposed by Richard B. So we're just going to talk about that a little bit. I do have a couple graphics I kind of threw together. Again, this isn't necessarily a theme of the day, so you're not going to see it as like a big time PowerPoint, but we'll discuss it a little bit. So how to direct points to certain ecosystems. If I just give sort of an introductory statement to that, I'll back up a little bit and talk about like when I first got into points and miles. First of all, for the first 3 to 6 months, I thought to myself I was only going to do cash back. Now, what I did was I found that I was able to use my Wells Fargo Golden Ponies card with 1.5 on the redemption side. I was like, whoa. My next target, maybe not exact next target, was an Amazon card, 5% cash back on Amazon. And then I picked up the Blue Cash Preferred to get 6% back on groceries with the plan to downgrade it to the Blue Cash Everyday eventually and some other stuff. So I was just kind of maximizing sorry, I had a Mitch McConnell moment there. I was maximizing cash back. With that in mind, I actually didn't get a 2x everywhere card for a very long time because once I started down the path, I realized, oh, sign-up bonuses are worth more than everyday spend. So I ended up getting an Ink Unlimited from Chase once I discovered 524 was a thing and didn't want to ruin that. So I had 1.5 on everything, 6% on groceries, 5% on Amazon, and I thought I was doing pretty good. And the biggest jump in your everyday spend maximizing is always going to be right when you get on board, because going from using cash and a debit card to even a 1.5% card everywhere is going to be huge, or 1.5x. Even better if you get a 2x card. And then adding the Amazon was a good idea. Adding something for grocery and gas was a good idea. But every time you do it, the diminishing returns becomes more and more of a thing. So let's just say when I went from debit card use to 1.5 on everything, I added, I'm making up a number here, $700 of value over the course of a year. And then when I added the Blue Cash Preferred, it went from $700 of value up to $1,000. But the difference between those two was only $300. So the return for adding something wasn't as good. And then I added Amazon. Now my whole panoply is worth maybe $1,200. But the first step I added $700 value. The second step I added $300. The third step I added $200. Well, you get down the road a little ways, whether you're doing cash back or whether you're doing points, every new spending modifier you add is like, a little more value, but not a lot. So the question is, let's say I get the Wells Fargo Attune and I don't have a pet, but let's just pretend I've got a bird and I have to buy bird food once a month and it's $10. I'm getting 4x instead of 2x, which means I'm getting an extra 2x on the $10. I'm getting 20 points, over the course of an entire year. My above and beyond, or how much value that I've added, is 240 points. So if you think penny points, that's worth $2.40. At 2 cents per point, that's worth $4.80. Am I going to add a whole nother card just to get an extra $4.80 in value every year? Probably not. Am I going to add a whole new ecosystem? Probably not. Let me see if I can find Richard's exact question and how they word it. Just a second. My wife wants to know if my son's black belt is anywhere in the office. I appreciate them not barging in on me. And no, I do not see a black belt anywhere. Let me look under the covers. Family time. I've said before, if you donate to my channel, 20% of whatever you give goes directly to my family budget. I'm actually thinking about upping that a little more because we need a new deck pretty badly. It's falling apart. Anyway, we were talking about like adding returns. Would I add a whole nother ecosystem, a whole nother card to make $4.80 and more value a year? I probably would not. Oh, yes, I was looking for comments. So let me do that here. All right, I'm looking for Richard. Oh, come on. Oh, I'm on the wrong channel. I'm on Dugraz Nostalgia. I got to switch over to Dugraz Reports. That's why I wasn't finding very many comments. There was a guy in college, my junior year of college. He was a freshman. I was a junior. And we would have what we call dorm devotions. This was a Christian college, like a get together once a week where everyone in the dorm came to the main room. And I don't know exactly how it happened, but somehow we ended up like chanting his name, Richard, 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 which I thought was kind of funny. I'm not finding Richard's comment here. If you're on board, Richard, feel free to drop it. I'm so sorry. I got a lot of comments in the last 2 days, though. Someone named Tesla Road Trips dropped like 30 comments, which is awesome. Thank you for doing that. Sorry, can't find the original comment. I apologize. But yeah, the question was like, how do you decide what spend to put on what card and what ecosystem? And as a side note, signing up for other ecosystems. So the best way for me to describe it is to basically just do an example. So I'm going to do that. But before I do, I'm going to catch up on comments here. Sleepy Roz said, I heard the new Strata Elite, which is a World Legend MasterCard, has secondary car rental insurance. That seems insulting and funny. I haven't heard about that, but yeah, that would be. John says, Casey's Pizza is delicious. Dennis says, what's your chase point UR strategy? Right now, it's all going towards the Aeroplan trick, 1.625 cents per point on all those miscellaneous things. But that could change in the future. Sam says, can I be the next voice for new sat navs or Alexas? Sure, send them my way. Matt says, everything about Strata Elite launch is insulting and funny. Ian wants to know, how were YouTube finances last month? It was down a little. So, I had that 1 month where Mike Newland donated like 100 memberships in one live or something like that, which was my highest month ever. I think that was in May, if I'm not mistaken. And that was my biggest month ever. And then bear in mind, my family vacation went from the end of June into the first week of July. So both June and July, I had one fewer live stream than usual. And I make 75% of my money off live streams and donations and channel memberships and that kind of stuff. Not so much the, advertising revenue. So both of those months were down a little bit, but I will say the trend overall has been much larger thanks to people like you making donations. So thank you for that. I think I was in the 470s, something like that last month. Rex Blind says, hey guys, sorry I missed the grounding. No problem. Intentional grounding. Woo. Sally Beery is here and says, Casey's Pizza. Switch family pizza night to Casey's for 600 Wyndham points ago. That is worth doing. Is that something you've actually done, or is this hypothetical? If it is something you've actually done, 1,000 Dugraz points for you. Andrew Beach says, good morning, Douglas. Have a great day. Thank you. Sam K wants us all to click like. That's how the algorithm works. And JP says, how many chase cards do you have, and how many have you opened in the last 12 months? Actually, my 2 times ago live stream was all about that, like my mid-year credit card portfolio review. So why don't you go back and watch that, and it'll give you all that info. Uncle Luke is here and says, what's up, boys? Good to see you this morning. Luke, how you doing? Steve says, United Business is good. I do 5x times $100 TB purchase, which triggers the TB credit. Travel bank. Okay. Zone 2 seating, free bag, worth it to me. New again says, yes, Strata Elite is secondary and primary internationally. What up? Rex says, does anybody know if AA Advantage Executive Card is changing to a World Elite MasterCard? I don't know. Matt says it won't be for a while. And Sam says, just an idea. You could add some bloopers at the very end of videos or live streams for the humor. I did that like once or twice, and like nobody reacted. Often when I do funny things, there's like 20 people who absolutely love it, but it doesn't seem to trigger the algorithm very well. Rex says $1.99. Well, he doesn't say it. He said, we all love you here, Doug. Oh, thanks, Rex. And he drops a $1. Let me try that again. My mouth is failing me. Rex says, we all love you here, Doug, and drops a $1.99 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you for your patronage, Rex. Still, if somebody drops $1.49 exactly, you get some points. New again says, I was hoping JP Knowledge provides some stats. He's under Chase review. Do you mean like a thing where they review your whole account and decide whether to shut you down completely or not? Or like I applied for a card and it's under review? Because one is normal and one is terrifying. Although if I got shut down by Chase, that would make for some good content. I've had this theory in my brain, and you guys can let me know if this is harebrained or not. I have a mortgage with Chase and I have credit cards with Chase. I have never had checking or savings, business or personal. It seems like people that are subject to an entire Chase portfolio, we might shut you down review, are all people who have had a checking or savings account with Chase. And usually there's something dumb that triggers it on the DDA side. That's an old banking term, demand deposit account for checking or savings. But then they look at everything. So like, let's say my checking account gets a direct deposit from Kosovo or something for $1 because somebody bought something off eBay, and it's like, ooh, we better look into this. And now that we're looking, why do you have so many credit cards? So my thought process has been, my giant portfolio of 11 or 12 Chase cards is so important to me that I'm going to forego ever getting a checking or savings account sign-up bonus with Chase. Dumb, not dumb? Let me know what you think. Matt says, when City and AA relaunch and refresh cards in a couple years, then the top card will likely be World Legend. That seems plausible. Dennis thought the Dugraz bloopers were funny. Like I said, there's like 20 people who love them. Luke says, I have checking and savings, personal and business with Chase. Pain in the butt. All right, another reason to avoid them. Sam wants to know where one inserts the AA batteries in a Tesla. I get the impression you're not a huge fan of Teslas. And Luke says, they deny transfer all the time. New again says, I assume JP meant financial review, but you're right. He didn't specify what type of review. Earlier in the live stream, he said, I signed up for a United Card sub and I'm under review. The context would suggest to me whether or not he gets that specific card is under review. Clairvoyant said, dumb when the S blank 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 hits the fan, you'll want to have accounts with Chase. I'm trying to envision what would be a situation where I'm mad at myself for not having a checking account with Chase. Let me know. I'd love to hear. I'm not saying you're wrong. I can't imagine what that would be. I do bank with 6 or 7 or 8 different banks. So it's not like, I'm at risk of not having access to any of my money. Dennis Dunn says, not dumb with exclamation point. Ian says, I think his card is under his review, not his account. Steve said, with Chase, I did first transfer from Chase to another bank. Took like a year not to get blocked, even being a private client. With Chase, you have to pull from other banks. And Chase are definitely stalkers for chasing so many customers. I see what you mean. New again says, yeah, sounds like card applications under review. Clairvoyant says, for example, if they didn't bail out Silicon Valley Bank, you would have wanted an account with Chase. If they didn't bail out Silicon Valley Bank, you would have wanted an account with Chase. All right. I think I'm seeing the path you're going down, but I'm still not fully following you. That's okay. I don't mind talking about bank account service on this channel, but it's not what most people are here for. So we're just probably going to move on. YouTube Experiment is here. Says getting off work. I'll be listening and driving. Hello, all. Awesome. Glad to have you. All right. So let me do my little bit of like miniature theme of the day here. And I called this all city all the time. And this is really easy to talk about because, actually, let me start that over just in case I do a standalone. We're going to talk about different ecosystems and what to think about in terms of everyday spend and where to allocate your spend. Yes, alligators allocate things. Where to allocate your spend. So I had talked last week, is the City Strata Premier actually good? And I said it would be nice to get myself back up to a city quartet. Right now I have these 3 cards, but let's say I'm able to hypothetically get that Barclays American Airlines card. It's bought by City a little over a year from now. I product change it to a double cash. And now I have the quartet. Hello, 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 hello. Let's just say in the future, I have this set up. So I'm going to use the custom cash for dining, one of them. I'm going to use another custom cash for Amazon indirect. And what I mean by that is I'll go to like a grocery store or something like that and buy $500 worth of Amazon gift cards or however much I need every month. And then use that on Amazon to get the 5X. I'm going to use the Strata Premier for gas because it gets 3X on gas. And then double cash for everything else, of course. Now, please don't come at me and say, I need more custom caches. Please don't come at me and say, I would use my custom cache for something else. I just picked my biggest categories that it would fit on. I'm not actually doing this. Let's just say I use City and nothing but City all of the time for this. So how does that pan out on my $57,000 of annual spend? So I've done videos in the past where I use this chart. Why didn't that come in more eloquently? I've used this chart right here for kind of a rough approximation of how much I run through credit cards every year, not counting any funny business of just natural spend. I probably spend around $57,000 a year, and it breaks down like so. So I'm not going to go over everything, but just to hit the highlights, the dining, as previously mentioned, would go on one of those custom caches. I spend $5,000. That's a little less than $500 a month, 25,000 City points a year. Amazon, I'm buying those gift cards at a gas station or whatever. Again, 5X per year, 20,000 points. Gas, this is like actually putting gas in my car, plus a few other things. Casey's pizza slices, I'm going to earn 3X. That's 12,000 a year. Walmart, all I can use is my double cash. Grocery, like actual grocery stores like Hy-Vee and Aldi. I don't spend a lot at those because we get most of our actual groceries at Walmart, and it doesn't code as a grocery store. So 9,000 on real grocery stores. Just using double cash for telecom, for everything else, and utilities. That's the best I can do if I'm going to stick with City and nothing but City thank you rewards. You add all that up, you get 148,000 points per year. Now, what's your first thought on this? I'll tell you what my first thought on this is. Is that all? That's kind of disappointing. I maximized my spend on one ecosystem and all I get is 148,000 points a year. I mean, shoot, the Strata Elite sign-up bonus alone is 100,000 a year. And by the time I spend on it, it'll be at least 105,000. So I feel like this is worth like, 1.5 or 2 sign-up bonuses when you have a fairly high sign-up bonus. So I'm always torn as a mathematician, bad as I am, and a YouTuber. The mathematician says you need to go full Filmo and just do sign-up bonus after sign-up bonus, no matter how inefficient it is. And let's be honest, you get like that targeted offer on the Amex Gold for no lifetime language, business gold, 175,000 points. That one sign-up bonus is better than all of this normal spend put together. That's kind of disappointing, isn't it? So the YouTuber in me, though, loves making videos about maximizing my spend and what's the best 2-card combo, what's the best 5-card combo, and what's the best ecosystem. Should I put my everyday spend on Citi? Should I put my everyday spend on Amex, on Chase, on Wells Fargo, Capital One, some mixture of those? How do we figure it out? I hate to say it, but I have to be honest. If nothing else, I'm honest. You're going to be better off getting 1 or 2 really good quality subs every year and putting everything else on a double cash than trying to min-max on that. So there's the realistic answer, but let's continue on and actually talk about it, not counting sign-up bonuses, because we also want the fun answer. So that's what it would look like, not counting sign-up bonuses, if I just put everything on Citi cards. Now we got to ask the question that Richard asked. How do I know what I'm supposed to maximize, what I'm supposed to change, where the inefficiencies are, etc.? Well, we see a couple inefficiencies. The glaring one is everything else, because there's some other way I could get more than 50,000 points. Well, until December 15th, you could use your U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve anywhere that has mobile wallet. How many places have mobile wallet? Probably between 5,000 and 10,000 to spend. So I'm going to carve out 5,000 to 10,000 of that and make it a little bit better. You know, probably some of those are pharmacies, and I can use my Freedom Flex to get 3 points at Chase. My Freedom Flex and my OG Freedoms are going to have some rotating categories that might come in handy now and then. We've already got dining, Amazon, gas allocated, but maybe like the aforementioned pharmacies, office supply stores. I don't know. What are some other weird categories they've had? Movie theaters, you know, things like that. Utilities is not very efficient. Well, shoot, just use your US Bank Cash Plus. Sign up for that and you get 5% cash back. Would you rather have 2 Citi points or 5% cash? I'd rather have 5% cash. That's my thought. So there are some obvious things that you can do, but how do you make those decisions? You have to really look at it, you have to really think about it, and you have to do a lot of math. But then you have to channel the spirit of Stan the Credit Frog a little bit and say, simplicity's worth something. I feel like I could make a 20-hour-long video to kind of nail this and figure it out perfectly with absolute perfection, but they'd have to run so many trial and error if-then examples. Somebody could say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a Capital One Venture X for everything else and a saver for a few things, and that's it. And I'm good. And I'm going to be like, you go, girl. You do that. But let's think this through a little bit more here. I don't know if Cesar's still on board, but let's just say you want to take a vacation to Puerto Rico sometime, maybe in October. That's a little bit of a down season. I selected Saturday, October 25th through the 26th, just to show you one night. There's only one choice property that I saw in San Juan, and it was this random Comfort Inn. Is it any good, Cesar? I don't know. It's about $186 per night. Ignore the price because I already did the math separately on that. Let's think about a solo trip. Let's say we're going to go to San Juan in October, and we're going to use the 148,000 Citi points that I earned. And let's say it's a solo trip. I'm going all by myself. It's possible, even probable, I could book round trip in economy on American Airlines for 25,000 Citi points. And now that they're a transfer partner with American Airlines. Now, I know you might be thinking, oh, that's way less than what they normally offer. But if you're kind of particular, you look, you cherry pick, I think it's reasonable. We could get a flight for 25,000 AA points round trip to get down to San Juan, Puerto Rico. And then let's also say we're going to stay in that aforementioned choice hotel, the Comfort Inn. It was 21,000 points per night on the night that I was looking, average. Take that times 5 nights, you've got 52,500 Citi points. Now, look at that carefully. It kind of looks like it's wrong. 21,000 times 5 is 105,000. But you actually have to divide that by 2 because remember, you transfer 1 to 2 from city to choice. So the math is correct. You're going to use 52,500 city points for your hotel. And then you got to have some money for eating and doing some stuff. So let's say you can get by with $300 of spending money on your Ubers, whatever. You're not going to rent a car. You're just going to hang out close to the hotel, lay by the ocean, hang out at the pool, whatever. 30,000 city points. So if we add all that together, that's 107,500. So in 1 year, I earned 148,000 city points for this vacation solo, just a 5-night hangout in Puerto Rico. Maybe you bring your work computer and work from the beach. I don't know. 107,500, which that means, great, this is enough for my trip plus 40,000 left over. Or you can think about it like this. It would give me about 1 1/3 trips like this every year. In other words, in 4 years, I would get, in 3 years, I would get 4 trips. 4 trips in 3 years, a little more than 1 a year, just from everyday spend. Not bad. Let's think it through a little more, but first I probably need to catch up on some comments before I do that. Steve says their market cap is higher than Bank of America in 3rd place combined. Too big to fail. I think we're still talking about Chase. Dennis says, hey, Banks, just give us the points. I agree with that. Sam says, make it snappy with alligators. What did I say earlier? Alligator something, something. Eduardo says, that's a lot of choice points. It sure would be if you transferred 140,000 and doubled it. That's almost 300,000. Rewards Master says, good to be here. Better late than never. Thank you. Check out the Rewards Master's channel. Big time YouTuber. Clairvoyant says, just going after subs is how you end up with 45 personal accounts like me, smiley face. It is okay to cancel cards now and then, just for reference. QC Man says, I was able to get the 200,000 for 10K business gold offer. That was the best so far. Awesome. Matt says, it doesn't matter the issuer. Your yearly spending doesn't beat a sub. The problem is there's only so many welcome offers. That's true. And if you're going at full Filmo pace where you're doing 8 to 12 a year, that's true. What I'm getting at is even doing like 1.5, you would break even. If you can do like 2 subs a year, you'll probably come out ahead. Say you do 3, then you're really coming out ahead. Scott Saul says, that is amazing. Close to our family spend. Just swap Walmart with Costco. Absolutely. I think we have pretty typical Midwest family spending. Herr Moon said, I've tried the $1.49 super chat, but the system does not let me. I even ran it through my focus group, my 2 dogs. I really wanted those 1,000 bonus Dugraz points. Sorry about that. Try a soup. Look, here's how I did it. You have to be on a computer, not a mobile device. Go to the super stickers and scroll all the way, almost all the way to the right, and there's like different food items. I think the banana and a hamburger are $1.49. Dennis says being realistic is honest. I agree. Matt says if you grab all the accounts, then you have to deal with 97,000 accounts elsewhere. Yep, that's a factor. I don't like adding ecosystems. New Again says keep it simple. About 2 to 4 big subs a year, then put most of the spend on a flat 2x card of the preferred issuer. It won't be Chase. They don't have a 2x card. Yeah, we mentioned that. I actually think that would be a tremendous strategy. Or like your Capital One Duo when you're not going for a sub. New Again says, if I was to create my own channel, I would only discuss Chase once a quarter, only to name 5 things about them that make them a terribly overrated and bad merchant. So I'm trying to pick up what you're laying down here, New Again. Do you like Chase or not? I forgot to add portals to maximize earnings where it makes sense. Yep. Steve says, I made so much money off Chase last year, it's not funny. They're fun to hit hard. Gravy Train will be implement pop-up jail, though. Yeah, up until recently, that's been my thing with Chase. Sure, their categories are not always user-friendly, but you sure can stack up a lot of points. We'll just keep pressing ahead. I'm sorry, I just can't get to everything. Yankee Man 311. Don't think we've met, Yankee Man. I'm on Team Sub right now, working on my 4th and 12 months, all worth at least $750, but probably more. Probably more, yeah. Steve says Inc. only needs 424 as long as biz cards are fine. Open 3 at 424. I haven't tried recently. I got the high CIP last year at 120. CPC bonus into many thousands. Is that a Chase private client bonus? I didn't know they had a bonus on subs. Interesting. How many more dollars do I need to get into Chase Private Client? The Platinum OG says there's always plenty of bonuses. I do 12 or more a year. I'm going on 4 years now. A lot of business cards, and a player 3 helps. Ooh, yeah, player 3 would definitely help a parent or adult child or something like that. Vincent Pascal says a great simple city setup would be Strata Premier and Double Cash. I agree with that. You could dump those 2 custom caches. Inks don't count for 524 as long as 424 will get approved. Yep. New Again says traditionally Barclays will not let you get the same card while you still possess it. You would have to cancel AA Red before applying again. Gotcha. Thank you. Dimitri says, my everything else card is a vanilla gift card from Staples, not too shabby. And that's certainly something you could do. And I actually mentioned, like, you know, buying your Amazon gift cards at a gas station or Staples or something like that. I do a lot of creative gift card buying myself also. Boom, there it is. Hermunds gets the 149 super sticker. I actually, because of StreamYard, don't know what it is. So let me know if you did the banana or the hamburger or something else. Celebrate, celebrate. Here, I officially award you your bonus 1,000 Dugraz points. Thank you so much, Harry. I appreciate that. Thanks for supporting the channel. Steve, yes, if you send money over. I don't remember what that's an answer to. I better keep going here so I don't lose the people watching after the fact. All right, so I talked about what it would be like if you took a solo trip, but let's again face reality here. I'm not solo. I have a family. Now let's do that same trip. My whole family of 4 on the exact same 148,000 city points. So instead of 25,000 American Airline points, I need to use 100,000 city points to get over to American Airlines to get that round trip economy down to Puerto Rico. And I've now blown through the vast majority of my annual earnings. Choice hotels, again, the same 21,000 per night times 5 nights is either going to be 52,500 if we all cram into one room, or 105,000 if you need separate rooms. Now, this is a matter of preference and taste, and different people reach different conclusions. But with a couple of teenagers, I've reached the point where I want to enjoy my vacation, so I'm actually going to spend the money for that second room. That's why we love Hilton and their guaranteed connecting rooms so much. We've done the thing with, you know, either my wife and I have a king-size bed and they have the pull-out sleeper sofa right next to us, or we get a queen nightstand, they get a queen, but they wiggle, they bother each other, they make noise, they burp, they fart, you know. It's just so much nicer if we have 2 separate rooms. So if it was me, it'd be the 105,000. And then instead of $300 of spending money, I'm probably gonna need $900 of spending money. Now, I didn't take it times 4 because I can get a little bit of efficiency by doing things as a group. Like sometimes you can get a group tour. Sometimes kids cost less. They are still minors. If we get an Uber, it's the same price. If we get an Uber, it's the same price, whether one of us or 4 of us. But they're going to eat enough to equal 3.5 or 4 of us, if not more. My wife doesn't have a huge appetite. So I figured a reasonable compromise is I take my spending money times 3 of what it would be if I was a solo trip. So now instead of 30,000 city points, it's 90,000 city points. So depending on whether you get the 1 room or the 2 rooms, that's going to total somewhere between 242,500 and 295,000. So which number is bigger, this one or this one? I'm not even earning enough in a year without a sub to take 1 vacation, is what this is saying, as a family. Welp, this is enough for a trip about every 1.5 to 2 years. In other words, in the same 4 years, I'm getting about 2 trips, half as much as if I went solo. So what I said before was I could get 4 trips in 3 years. Now we're getting about 2 trips in 4 years. I said half as much. It's actually less than half. It's like 40% as much. And this is something that I think it's not overlooked entirely in the YouTube community, but it is definitely minimized. And that is how much harder it is to do family travel than solo travel. Let's be honest. There's a reason why a lot of the most popular influencers are either solo travelers or travel as a couple, because there's two things. One is it's just not going to look as impressive to say I get 2 trips every 4 years as it is to do all these quick trips all by yourself. Plus, just the natural followers that are inclined to follow you, you're going to have some really dedicated middle-aged dads. Now, I'm very popular in the middle-aged dad community, but my channel doesn't grow as fast as someone like Spencer Johnson's does. Nothing against Spencer. I mean, he's doing great. But it's just kind of a fact. And I think it's okay to face the fact that family travel is harder to pull off because, you have to have 4 times as many points if you have a family of 4. If you have a family of 5, you have to have 5 times as many points. Maybe not exactly, but pretty close. I'm going to get to the whole optimization part in just a moment here. But I will catch up on comments briefly before I do. YouTube Experiment says he did the hot dog. Okay, that's what Hare's super sticker was. Awesome. Thank you for filling us in. Sam says it was a corn dog and that farting is free room heating. New Again says to Steve, nah, no reason to stay on Chase's plans. Taste of the ink train is dead, so Chase is dead. Interesting. And maybe I'll abandon them. Wouldn't it be funny if the issuer that I have more cards in than any other by far ended up dumping me? By the way, I've got 99 people on board, so let's see if we can get over 100 again. Ian says, solo travel is such a joke. I got 1 ticket in ANA. I got 1 ticket in JAL. Anybody can do that. Hey, look, 100 people on board right now. Celebrate good times. Come on. And then it drops back down to 99. Yeah, I'm a Christian, so I want to be gracious and show mercy, but I have a playlist on YouTube called videos that I could react to, and some of them are just, nuanced reactions, but some of them are people that I just want to rip to shreds because they are like, let's say, for example, you take this trip to the Maldives on February 22nd. A one-way ticket would normally be $30,000, but instead you're only spending this many points. And let's say you use your free night certificate to stay at the whatever wetter. You're getting 1 night for this. And I'm like, how are you getting home? Who's coming with you? Are you staying 1 night in the Maldives? It just rubs me the wrong way, in case you can't tell. Tweety says, Southwest Companion Pass really helped us as a family of 3. I've thought that too. I just don't think we fly Southwest enough to make it a goal worth going for. But if you are in a Southwest hub or have easy access to one, and you have a family that's doing 3 to 4 trips a year. See, my family only does 1 really big trip a year. Sleepy Rod says, you just have to put out a YouTube video every week where you're reading the website to us and you might grow quicker. Oh, thanks for the advice. I really appreciate that. Ian M says, has Spencer taken an international trip yet, or is he still doing that van stuff? I didn't know Spencer was into van life stuff. I actually don't know. I remember, I love Anthony Venture. We're buddies, but I was a little shocked when I first watched his channel that he's I don't know, what's he at? 10,000 subscribers. Yeah, because he's going to go stay at that lighthouse platform in the middle of the ocean. I was a little shocked when I found out I did my first international trip before he did his first international trip, even though I only have a quarter as many subscribers. And I think it has something to do with the audiences that we naturally appeal to. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I think us middle-aged dads need to band together and accept the fact that family travel is what it is. Matt says to Sleepy Rod, I do it daily and nope. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, Matt does put out a YouTube video, but Matt, you have to have awesome graphics where everything flies in from the back to make it work. Dennis says United points and Chase UR points don't expire, so what can you pull off for family travel? It is good that they don't expire, certainly. I guess watch my Rip Trip videos or my just general travel videos. Ian says 1999 reactions, rip them up. Ian doesn't want me to hold back. He wants me to react and just make them feel like fools. There is a Bible verse that said something like, show kindness to your enemies, and in doing so, you'll heap burning coals on their head. So I think I'd lean that direction. Just, tell the truth, let the truth speak for itself. but there is a fallen part of me that sometimes wants to just rip them to shreds. Thank you so much for the $20, Ian. I really appreciate it. Celebrate. Wow, you are a good friend of the channel, and I thank you so much. He went to Croatia and the Bahamas. I think this is talking about Spencer, but I'm not sure. Whoa, we're up to 112 people on board. Awesome. Chase and United can pool points. Too Easy says Uncle Luke is trying to send 8 people on a trip, 1 to 2 million points. That is a noble goal. Now, I'm on the end of the spectrum that is like, make the travel free. Uncle Luke is closer to the end of the spectrum. Well, he would say, I'll just pay cash for things like Ubers and taxis and trains and trolleys and attractions and meals and whatnot. I just need to cover the flights and the hotel. And that's totally cool. I'm good with that. It's just not the goal I want to follow. Have to check them out again. Awesome. Tiger says, have you ever stayed at the Marriott Stellaris Casino in Puerto Rico? I've never even been to Puerto Rico, so no, I have not. And Sleepy says, to Matt, your videos don't seem like that. You're a Tidbits credit card news guy. I agree with that. I really appreciate what Matt does. That's where I get at least a third of my information, which I like, and I do too. Matt Heron is on board. A different Matt says, I'm at 824. Any data points for Barclays for going for their 624 rule for Aviator Red between now and 9:30? Little things I've seen here and there make it sound like Barclays has given out their American cards like candy, but I can't say for sure. Sam wants to know why Americans say they've seen the UK while only visiting inside London. There's more to the UK, such as Wales, the rest of England, Scotland, etc. I mean, I'm not sure if you're looking for a funny answer or a serious answer, but I'll give you a serious answer. I'm big on points and miles, so the thought of like taking multiple vacations to the UK in my life is legitimate. Like, it's an option that's on the table. For most average Americans, you're probably going to save up for 7 to 10 years to take that kind of vacation. So they're probably going to think, I've got to do all the things. So if you, right, wrong, or indifferent, if you think UK, you think the Tower Bridge, you think the guys with the funny hats, you think Tower of London, you think Westminster Cathedral, you think of riding a double-decker bus around, you think of the underground, that kind of stuff. So I think most Americans are like, I'm just going to go to London and do all those stereotypical touristy things once and shoot my shot, and I can only afford to do this once every 10 years. So then when they go home and somebody says, hey, have you been to the United Kingdom? Of course they're going to say yes. It's just a fun thing to talk about. Now, I will say, while I liked London, I liked the other parts better. I liked York better. I liked Wales better twice. Yeah, good. Ian says, more of a burning coals guy. Noted. Sleepy says, I commented on a creator's video where they were talking about using a free night certificate in the Maldives. I asked about how they got there. Are they staying only one night? The creator seemed annoyed. I also like it when they talk about their one-way trip. Just say, how are you getting home? I know autocorrect screws things over now and then, Sam. Most of the time I can tell what your intent is. And there is way more of the UK than Great Britain. Something my wife and I agree with that, New again. Something my wife and I are figuring out is we don't like big cities on vacation. So like going to Trefnu in Wales, which is like 800 people, way more enjoyable than going to London. Going to Vienna wasn't really our cup of tea. Nothing wrong with Vienna, but I'd rather go over to, how do you say it? Vorarlberg, where my family is from on the far western side of Austria. I will mention, since somebody asked about bucket list trips, that's I'll list maybe a couple more towards the end, but I would like to go to the far western edge of Austria over by Liechtenstein, Vorarlberg, because that's where my family is from. Only 1/8 of my family line I've been able to trace all the way back to Europe, so I'd at least like to know where 1/8 of my ancestors came from. Matt is the go-to for news, says Ian. I unfollowed all the other news people. I'm not sure why he isn't 20 times bigger. I'm going to say this with honesty, saying I really love Matt's channel. Probably if he had more fancy, flashy graphics and stuff. But I know that takes a lot of time, and he probably doesn't have time. He has a family, he has a job. Just like me, people have said something like, when I said like, fancy graphics and like high quality resolution, that kind of stuff isn't that important to me. And the response that I often get is, you're right, we're here for your content. That's what you want. But the 23-year-old who's just clicking around and has an attention span of 20 seconds will be attracted to the glamour and the glitz. Bryce Cooley's here. How you doing, Bryce? Weddings is a horrible, dumb investment. $50,000 for a wedding? You could put a down payment on a house with that kind of money. A lot of these white collars are not as bright as people think. Our wedding, my in-laws gave us $2,000, and that's what we spent on our wedding. So I'm with you. QC Man gives a $1.99 super sticker. Celebrate. Thank you, QC Man. I appreciate that. You could live in Venice, Italy for 2 years with $50,000 instead of a one-day wedding reception. The Cotswolds. Robert says, where are you at in the UK? I'd like to talk to someone about Manchester / Birmingham / Liverpool. Matt says, Heron, RJ from the podcast got the Aviator at like 8 or 9 over 24. Also got the Biz at 8 over 24. Sean Olaf says, Spencer Johnson gets annoyed when you ask him the wrong type of validation. I'm just going to move on from that. Happy to see you here, Sean. Got some people asking each other questions. Let's see. Dennis says, a less populated UK area, point me to the pub. I get that. Ian says, we're 100% with you in our household. Smaller places are greater than cities. We seek out the unique. That's part of the reason why I need rental cars. Sam doesn't want to give out his location over YouTube. No offense. Quit following all the YouTubers who recycle. QCM says, though you don't love big cities, which big city has been your favorite? Well, how big are we talking here? I don't want to spend a lot of time thinking about it, so just off the top of my head, I'll say Washington, D.C. Wouldn't want to live there, but fun to visit. Tiger Maple wants to know where the name Dugraz originates from. Oh, that's easy. My real name is Dugroz, Dougros. So when I was in college, as many of us do, I thought it would be absolutely hilarious to call myself Dugraz by spelling it phonetically, and it just kind of stuck. Steve is aware of the answer. Ian says, we did our wedding for $15K. Actually, I could give an even more detailed origin story, so maybe someday I'll make the origin video or something like that. Ian says, we did our wedding for $15K adjusted for inflation, probably about the same as $2K 67 years ago. Hey, it wasn't that long ago. I was married in 2001, if you're wondering. Have you creators looked at hiring help for graphics and transitions? Fiverr is a good place to start. I have not. I've asked around, but I haven't actually done it because unless you know what I like, I'm afraid it would turn out crappy. But I guess with Fiverr, I could always do like a one-time if they do a terrible job, just never use them again. Also, considering I make about $12 per video, I'm not real keen on the idea of giving 5 of it to someone else. That's what I make from advertising revenue. Seriously, it averages about $12 per video. The other thing I was going to say is I have gotten truckloads of advertisements recently for AI assistants that like check your email for you and write content and that kind of stuff. I wouldn't use it for writing content, but if there was a legitimate AI video editor, I don't know how far that technology is. I should be able to tell AI like, hey, this is my YouTube channel. Just watch all my videos, see what I like, and do the same style, just make it cooler. And it should adjust over time. So I've thought about hiring AI to do my editing, but I'm not sure how far down the path that is. John says to Chris Sevi, I haven't. Maybe if the channel get to 50K subs, I might consider it. Have I ever been able to convince friends, family members to join the Points and Miles game? Okay, let's hold that question. I'll start there when I'm ready to resume, but I'm not done with my miniature theme yet. Then I'll come back to that. All right, so family travel creates a dilemma. So now, how do I know if I should allocate spend to some other card or ecosystem? Again, examples speak louder than words, so I'm going to pluck out Wyndham here. So here is the spending I did. And let's target gas because I have the Wyndham Earner Business Card, which gets me, first of all, it just gives you 15,000 points a year, which is worth way more than the $95 annual fee. So it's kind of a net pay for itself card. And it earns 8x on gas. So in the setup that I was using, I was spending $4,000 a year on gas, putting it all in my City Strata Premier, earning 3x points. That earned 12,000 city points. Instead, what if I took the same 4,000 on gas and Casey's Pizza and that kind of stuff and shifted it over to the other card? That comes out to 32,000. So the light blue is what I was getting when I kept it all city. If I just add this one issuer, gas goes up to 32,000 points. Now, Wyndham points and city points are definitely not worth the same amount. So we need to break that down a little bit. But just in terms of raw numbers, we're earning almost 3 times as much. So maybe I don't want to go to Puerto Rico. Maybe I want to get a Vacasa. And you all probably know by now, but just in case, I'll let you know, Vacasa is a vacation rental program that has a partnership with Wyndham. You can book lodges for 15,000 points per bedroom per night if it's under a certain threshold. I won't get into the certain threshold right now, but this particular cabin for 2 nights is under the threshold, at least not including taxes. And if it's not that exact night, let's just all say close enough. So I would get the all seasons. I would use my Wyndham points to book this vacation rental. It's the All Seasons Mountain Retreat in Dover, Vermont in October. Probably too early for ski season, which is why it's available. But there's lots of cool, you got your Appalachian Mountains, that kind of stuff. I don't know. Do they still call it the Appalachians up in Vermont, or do they call it something else? The Blue Ridge Mountains, the Green Mountain Boys, the Tonky Tinky Mountains. I don't know what they call them, but it's a really cool area. When I was in the Catskills of upstate New York back in April, I thought about driving to Vermont. I never actually did, but I thought about this kind of setup. There's the exact same screen that I had up. So Wyndham, in this particular case, if you do the math, I get a 10% discount on my card, which takes it down to $12,500 per room per night. This is a 1-bedroom condominium or townhome. I did the math for you. It comes out to 1.73 cents per point on the Wyndham side. Now, if instead I used city points to book that choice property in Puerto Rico or some other choice property, I know it's not fair to compare Vermont to Puerto Rico in October. The demand is probably not equal. I said up to 2.5 cents per point or 3 cents per point question mark. Again, I threw this together fast, so this will just require a verbal description of what I'm thinking here. With cherry picking, I consider choice properties to be worth 1.25 cents per point. Now, again, that's with cherry picking. So you have to really look for the property that fits. It's not a gigantic amount of cherry picking, but you're not going to want to stay at the Roadway Inn in the south side of Chicago or something like that. Is Roadway Inn a choice property? Whatever. You're not going to want to stay at their low-end Quality Inn in Ottumwa or something like that. Since it transfers 1 to 2 over from city to choice, then if I'm saying it's worth 1.25 on the choice side, it would be worth 2.5 on the city side. And then when I say 3 cents per point, so last summer, not the one that we're in right now, but in 2024, we went to Washington, D.C., and in the last 3 days, we stayed in rural Northern Virginia at the Salamander Resort, which is a preferred hotel, and I used choice points to book the preferred hotel, and I transferred those over from choice and a little bit of Wells Fargo, or city. It went city to choice to preferred, and I got 3 cents per point on the city side of things. So it is possible on mountains, on lodging, to earn more than 3 cents per point with city. But cents per point alone is not a good enough indicator because we're earning at different rates. This is earning 3x, this is earning 8x. I've already dedicated my 2 custom cash cards to something else. So don't tell me to get another custom cash. Remember, this is an example for the sake of concepts. Don't get down on me too much because I didn't carry the 1. Remember that Comfort Inn in San Juan, Puerto Rico we talked about? That was 0.7 cents per point, which we would double and it would be worth 1.4 cents per point on the city side. So we need to consider earnings at X value. We need to consider what the overall value is. That's supposed to say earnings times value. So at Wyndham, you're earning 8 points per dollar, and then you take that at 1.73 cents per point. That's a 13.83% cash back equivalent. Someone told me recently they don't like it when I say CBE, cashback equivalent. They like return on spend. Well, I like CBE better. 13.84% cashback equivalent, or 2 nights in a Vacasa with some left over. What did I say? 13,500 per night times 2 would be 27,000. Yeah, and this is 32,000. So you'd have 5,000 points left over. That's not bad. With the city card, if I'm earning 12,000 city points, let's say I use my cherry pick value of 1.25 cents per point, and then you double it to convert from choice to city, and then you take it times 3 since you're earning 3 cents per point. That's a 7.5% cashback equivalent, or half of a night in the Comfort Inn in Puerto Rico. So would you rather have 2 full nights at a mountain retreat in Vermont, or would you rather have half a night at a Comfort Inn in Puerto Rico? Now, there's a value judgment there, but I don't know about you. I would rather have 2 nights in a Vacasa than half a night in a Comfort Inn. So I think this is a good exchange. So this is one thing to consider when swapping out your points for a different ecosystem. We're saying instead of gas going to city, let's have gas go to my Wyndham card. The reason I use this example is just to show you how very complicated it can be to know which ecosystem to put a card on. So you'd have to go through and do this for every single category. Then you have other considerations like, let's say you have one Wells Fargo card that earns amazing on telecom. Even if the cashback equivalent is the best, do you really just want to have like 7,000 Wells Fargo points sitting over there? So there are both objective and subjective factors to consider. I didn't have time to put together a comprehensive look at what I want to do, but I am doing my Path series, which is a 4-part series. I know I'm way behind on that. I will get to the final 2 parts. And when that's done, I should have an appropriate breakdown of how I want to do my everyday spend. But there's a little preview in terms of how my brain works to come up with all that stuff. That's the end of the miniature theme. Now let's catch up on comments here. Okay, sorry. Dennis says, or no, Sleepy Rod asked this. Have you ever been able to convince friends and family members to join the points and miles game? Not really. I have 2 people that I've made a little progress with. There's one guy that I convinced to get 1 credit card, and it's a very unique situation, and maybe I'll interview him or talk about him sometime. There's another guy who's the closest thing I have to an apprentice, a young man in his 20s with a wife and a baby from my church who has gotten into it pretty strong. I don't know how much convincing I did because he kind of started to figure it out on his own. He has watched my channel. He has asked me for advice and those kind of things. I invited him to Puerto Rico, but he's not able to go. So very, very few. And I just don't put a lot of effort into it. I apologize. Dennis Dunn says, I know about stuck names. With me, it's Button Man from St. Patrick's Day. Yep, I saw your video. That was cool. Ian says $12 per video. Points with Philip is going to be a billionaire in about 7 hours. Sam says I should add a QR code to the screen linked to Ko-Fi as YouTube takes 30% of all transactions. I keep meaning to do that, and I just plain keep forgetting. I want to give people the options because it is fun to celebrate and all that stuff, because if I go to Ko-Fi or buy me a coffee, it's like I have to go to a whole nother site to see who donated, and that would be a little clunky. But thank you for the input. I do appreciate that. Mike Newland says, I don't think cooler and middle-aged groups go together, LOL. I get what you're saying. QC Man says, is it true that having subscribers with YouTube Premium helps your bottom line, even though we don't watch many ads? It does help in some ways because so I get so much advertising revenue, and then every time a YouTube Premium member watches, I get something. I don't know how that breaks down. And obviously those of you who are YouTube Premium members are in the minority, but they do give me like a quarter of a penny per view or something like that. QC Man acknowledges that Philip is a machine with his output. Hey, Xavier hits his 12-month anniversary. Celebrate. Good to see you here, Xavier. Thanks for being a diehard for 12 months. I appreciate it. John agrees with me. Sleepy Rod says, hello, friends. Philip here with Points with Philip. Is that what he says at the beginning of all? I've watched some of his videos, but definitely not all of them. Yankee Man 311 says, I didn't realize it took people 10 years to save for a European trip. Made me think how lucky I am to do it much more frequently. Yeah, exactly. I'd be curious, do any of you have data points on either before you got into points and miles, or you have a friend who took like a big European vacation? Like, how long did they have to save by paying cash for everything? I bet it was quite a while. And I'm not thinking rich friends. I'm talking like middle-aged friends. And if you live in New York City and think $250,000 income is middle class, you don't count. Sam K says, in Wales, the UK people can do unusual camping experience on the edge of a cliff face while harnessed day and night to prevent falling. Yeah, I won't be participating in that, but thanks for the info. QC Man says, I'm pretty sure Citi will stop letting folks change easily their thank you cards to custom cashes anytime soon anyways. Like they've stopped folks from changing co-brands to them already. So is it utterly impossible to switch from an American card to a thank you point card at this point? That would be good to know. If anybody is convinced that's the case and not just a one-time thing, let me know. New Again says, Citi already has terms of no more than one custom cash per account. They can strictly enforce that at any time. New Again says, good stuff, Dug. That's why your channel is goated. I called myself Dug. That and singing. You should finish that Beach Boys verse. Well, the bad guys know us and they leave us alone. That is the end of the verse. It's my buddies and me, we're getting real well known. Yeah, the bad guys know us and they leave us alone. I had a roommate who, my freshman year of college, his name was Dale Forrester. He was a real down-to-earth guy. And, you know, he saw the picture of the Beach Boys from the 60s. Of course, they're all clean cut and wearing like polo shirts with their surfboards. And he heard me listening to that and said something like, oh, yeah, you guys are real baddies, aren't you? Sarcastically. David says, I got my wife to join and my mother-in-law to get the card. I tell her to get and I give her some cash. That works out really well. Brian Jackson drops a 99-cent super sticker. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate your donation. What was the super sticker? What'd you find? Did you find a poop emoji or something? QC Man says, ever walk down the streets and see someone do the Dugraz here with Dugraz reports thing to you? I have not. I have literally never had a situation where somebody ran across me in real life that knew me from my YouTube channel. Now, obviously excluding, you know, church friends and stuff like that. But one of these days I'll be walking down the street and someone will see me and do it. Brian said his super sticker was an upside down happy face. All right, so let's transition to just questions galore here. How do I make this go away? I'm going to try to get to any questions that were asked. Where did I put my phone? Whether underneath my calculator, whether or not they were on the official Ask Me Anything or something else. I got to go back a ways here. All right, went too far back. Come on, people. Sorry. I'll get there. All right, this is the diehard one. Historic Epic Battles wants to know if I ever looked into cruise strategies, taking like an ocean cruise with credit card points. Wondering if Aeroplan Pay Yourself Back will work. To answer your question in reverse order, Historic Epic Battles, I believe Aeroplan Pay Yourself Back probably would work because it just has to code as travel. And Chase has a pretty broad definition of travel. So like if you put it on your Chase card and you see the little airplane symbol pop up, it's going to code as travel. What I would do is a test purchase, like, I don't know if there's a possible way to buy like a little tiny piece of a cruise or maybe a refundable to see if it codes as travel. Actually, that's it. Book a refundable like a year in the future and then see if it codes as travel and or not. I'm 90% that it would. Now, for me looking into cruise strategies, this is kind of my thought process on it. I'm one of the people that is concerned about all the horror stories with cruises, like the poop cruise and that kind of stuff, that I'm going to be in the middle of the ocean and lose electricity. With having asthma and allergies, my son has type 1 diabetes. The idea of not having like full medical attention for like a week is a little intimidating, quite frankly. Better would be like a Mediterranean cruise where you just go around, the Greek and Italian islands. So you're never more than about 3 hours from a port. Even if there was a horrible problem, at the end of the day, you can get off the boat. I think that I would be okay with. What I'd really like to do is something like a Viking river cruise where you go down the Danube or the Rhine River or something like that and are just seeing all the sights and stopping at all the European cities. That I would really, really enjoy, but I don't know the best way to pay for that with points and haven't really looked into it. I don't think there's any epic value, but again, Aeroplan Pay Myself Back should work. I have no idea how expensive a 5-day river cruise is. I did Google, like, Marriott owns their own yachts now and does cruises, and I had 2 thoughts on those. The first thought is they're very expensive, and using Marriott points for them is not a good deal at all. Secondly, I get their commercials all the time now because, you Google search something once and YouTube is like, write that down. So now I get these Marriott cruise yacht commercials all the time. And the very first line of one of them is like, these cruises are for people like you. You're not like everyone else. Well, it shows, some girl in a $700 sweater, super skinny and attractive with her very handsome boyfriend sipping on a $30 latte. It's like what they're basically saying is you're not like everybody else. You're rich. You're not like the poors. You're more important than the plebeians. You should take our cruise. Frankly, I'm not really insulted, but the kind of people that are easily offended could get pretty easily offended at that kind of thing. Next up, Ron Byrne asked, what are some of your bucket list trips or travel goals? For example, all 50 states, national parks, presidential graves, birthplaces, etc. I already mentioned the one about going to Vorarlberg in Austria, the much more rural western part of Austria. We'd like to do that sometime. I do want to visit every presidential grave and every state capital in my life. In terms of others, I've mentioned before, my wife is really into Anne of Green Gables and would like to go to Prince Edward Island up in Canada, don't you know, and see Prince Edward Island. I'd love to go back to West Virginia. That's not really bucket list, but I would like to. And then Robert Jarrell, channel friend, I think it was Robert, correct me if I'm wrong and you're on here, sent me some pictures of him going to Norway. So now Norway is on my bucket list too. Thank you. Ron asked the other question about how I'm seeing channel growth. I'm not going to get into that right now because we're running into a time frame. I need to wrap up in about 15 minutes, but feel free to ask that some other time. Here's Richard's original question about, I find it difficult to decide how much to spend on different awards programs. Is it better to focus on earning in one program or spreading points across multiple programs? Well, I will put a ribbon on it, Richard, by saying when I finish my Path series, there'll be a 4-point series with its own playlist here on YouTube. Watch that, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to know. Stoacy Slew says this, STOACYELSEW. Okay, it's probably Stoac Yeslu says this. Nobody that I know plays the credit card game, and I don't want to pester my friends about referrals. Are there places online you would recommend that make it easier for me to get referrals? I haven't got any before, and I'd be willing to use someone else's links on the honor system if they'll use mine. Thanks. I've ran across a couple here and there, Stoac, but I apologize. I don't know of any great ones. There is one that I'm a part of. RJ, not RJ from Stack Your Points, but RJ Financial, always wears the black polos, talks about every Sunday he has a roundup, has a channel, RJ Financial, and also Run on the Bank. And through either of those YouTube channels, you can join his Discord, become a member, and he does some sharing of links. Now, it's mostly on the bank account bonus side. I've gotten 7 or 8 of those referrals from him. They're little. It's with a bank called Novo and like $40, but hey, that adds up. And he will say things like, if there's a cap, like if I can only get a maximum of 4 referrals per year, then I'll start sharing members links. So looking into his might be worth, I think he charges $6 a month for channel membership, but I've actually come out on the plus side by getting some of those shared referral links. So that's worth looking into. All right, now I'm looking for more questions. That was the members only part. I need to get to the non-members only part. I'm getting there. All right. On the poll, Bobble Jibrick says, I vote for the bucket list because I need some fresh travel ideas, especially for the US and Canada, especially hidden gems. A hidden gem that comes to my mind is Blackwater Falls in West Virginia. Very cool. You will have to have a car to get there, though. There's no public transit. Garrett Jensen asked this question. How much spend is actually left to go around after spending towards welcome offers? I think bucket list trips and how you develop a strategy to pull them off would be more interesting. I'll touch on that just very briefly here by going back to the slide I had earlier. All right, so here's my list of spend. Where did it go? It says I'm sharing my, I'm having some sharing difficulty here. Let me try again. Sorry about that. I should have it any moment now. There we go. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Don't know why my screen froze for a second. So you said something like, what do you use for sign-up bonuses, or how much is actually left to go around after spending towards welcome offers? Well, first of all, I'm not always doing a welcome offer, but like right now I am. So there's a couple that are really obvious. Amazon, because you can just set it up and forget it. And then Walmart, we do it all online. So I just set it up and forget it. And then as much as possible, everything else goes towards the sign-up bonus. And you're right, that doesn't leave a lot. So let's just say hypothetically, not that I would necessarily do this, but let's say I put all of my everything else, all of my Amazon, and all of my Walmart of my 148,000 points, I'm pulling out 64,000. So I've still got 80-ish thousand points I could earn from everyday spend if I do that. It's something. Thank you, Garrett. I appreciate you asking that question. All right, let me catch up with live questions here, or questions on the spot. Sam says it's like a sauna in your apartment. Yeah, sorry to hear about that. I know it's one of those things where it's like us Americans say, well, why don't you just get air conditioning? And the English say, well, I'm not going to get air conditioning for like the 12 days a year that I need it. Sam K needs elevator music when waiting. I try my best. Brian says, Sam K reminds me of Kramer sitting in a sauna saying, it's like a sauna in here. I like the Seinfeld reference. Sleepy Rod. Oh, that burp caught me off guard. Sorry, folks. Sleepy Rod asked this. Have you considered applying for an aviator red for your parents, player 3 and 4? I had not considered that. Right now, we're in a situation where I'm in the throes of Medicaid problems and having to do appeals and getting a lawyer involved. And the lawyer really doesn't want me doing any more credit cards for them until they're both like fully settled, fully on Medicaid. So that's not going to be a thing for a while. Good job remembering that I had a player 3 and 4, though. Basically, at this point, I can only put their spends on credit cards we already have. Lawyer's orders. QC Man says Chad Pennycuff uses or used to use his USBR for cruises. I think you're right about that. New Again says you're the only creator in this space that sings, so you're cool with me. I'm always singing. I tip you, but I'm saving up to start my business. I understand. Hey, thank you for spreading the love. Dad on a Cruise says I've been on 9 cruises. The medical team is great. It's great for families too. Yeah, so I told you the con that held me back was about fear of being trapped in the middle of the ocean. A positive was brought up by Nick from Frequent Miler. He said that, like, when you have a family, you know, going to a new hotel every 2 or 3 nights is super annoying. The great thing about a cruise is your room follows you. Not so much the transatlantic cruise or trans-Pacific, but like the kind where you go around the Mediterranean and the Caribbean. So it's like, I'll just use the Caribbean as an example. The first night you're in Aruba, you know, and then you do your little thing in Aruba, get back on the boat. The second night you're in Jamaica and you do your little thing. And the third night you're on, Ooh, I Want to Take Ya, and you do your little thing. And then Bermuda, and then Bahama. Come on, pretty mama, let's go do the thing. So it's kind of nice that your, you know, stuff would follow you around. Your room would follow you around. Robert said I was about to suggest a river cruise, and yeah, you should do Norway. Robert, were you the one that suggested Norway? I'm 90% sure you were, although your new avatar, I think, is throwing me. Historic Epic Battles says, thanks for feedback. You're welcome. Thanks for the question. I appreciate it. Atachi8660 says, hello, everyone. Finally catching this live. Awesome. Don't think we've met before, Atachi. Good to have you on board. Sam says, there's a JFK memorial in Runnymede. What's Runnymede? Is that where the Magna Carta was signed? In 1644, doo-dah, doo-dah, the nobles gathered at Runnymede, oh, doo-dah day. I think that's a song, but correct me if I'm wrong. Itachi says, completely random question. Does anybody know how I can register for Hilton for Business without a website? I'm trying to use my Amex Business Platinum credit later this month. Does it force you to put in a website? I felt like it was so easy that you don't have to. This is just a thought. Like, you know, if you have a Facebook account, you can go to like facebook.com/user number 12345. Just copy all that and put it in as your website or your Instagram or whatever. Danny A, I don't know if we've met Danny, says player 2 has 3 cards, a Capital One Quicksilver, a Wells Fargo autograph, and the Wells Fargo Golden Pony. A fellow Golden Pony owner? Wow. Unfortunately, last week I got the replacement card in the mail. It still will be known forever as the Golden Pony card, but it's pinkish red now. She asked which credit cards to apply for. I'm thinking either the Capital One Duo or the Citi Duo, a CSP paired with either CCC or CDC. Thoughts? Okay, I need to think that through. I got the Capital One Duo. I got the Citi Duo. A Chase Sapphire Preferred paired with, probably a Citi Strata Premier paired with either Custom Cash or Double Cash. Thoughts? It seems to me like getting a Citi card gets harder the further you get into the game, but getting a Capital One card with a sign-up bonus is darn near impossible. So if she has the Quicksilver over at Capital One that is a Visa version, I would keep that like it is a golden treasure and then apply for a Saver card because that's going to run on MasterCard. The inverse is true as well. If she has a Quicksilver that is a MasterCard, see if they'll let you product change that to a Saver. Do that first, then apply for either the Venture or the Venture X. So I would go Capital One first. Great ideas. And I think that is probably a good next stop. Robert says, yes, I've been to Blackwater Falls. Make sure to take the hiking trail, not the climb. I took 2 different trails. One was like the handicap accessible one. I don't remember what the other one was called. Ketch says, I'm about to leave for the state fair. You going to the Iowa State Fair this next week? I haven't decided yet. My kids really want to. I'm not big on state fair. Like I said, state fair is great for 3 groups of people, maybe 4. 1 is if you're really into agriculture. I'm not. 2 is if you're really into getting drunk. I'm not. 3 is if you're really into live music. I'm not. Now, there is a 4th one that is if you're really into food, super unhealthy food. I kind of am. So that would be the one draw for me. Yeah, maybe we'll see each other there. Robert says it was he that went to Norway and took a funicular up a mountain, and I want to do that. Manuel Jimenez drops a $2.99 sticker. Celebrate. Thank you, Manuel. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you want to identify what the sticker was. Platinum asks a question to the whole community. Hey, community, when does the referral bonus for the ink cards end? Player 1 and Player 2, we've got 18 of these the last 4 hours. Sad to see it end. The last 4 hours? That's got to be a misprint, right? Like last 4 months, last 4 weeks? I would too. I thought it was sometime in October, but please don't quote me on that. Atachi says, thanks for the suggestion. The site I tried to register with was within a tab in the regular Hilton site. I tried YouTube channel, but that didn't work. I'll try Facebook next. I sure hope it works for you. All right, let me see if I have any other questions from the thingamajig of the week. I do. Okay, so my regular old thing. And I'll do the picture of the week at the very end. RemGB asked this, with Citi as a transfer partner, is it worth switching to Citi as one of the main ecosystems with a family of 4 like you? I'm more of an economy flyer and a Mr. Roz personality. How are AA miles for domestic flights? I wonder if you missed some or all of last week's live stream, Rem, because that is exactly what it was about. So go back and watch last week's live stream. Did the City Strata premiere finally get good? And I actually go over uses for it as a family and the type of travel that I do. So I think you'll get all the information you need there. Tiger Man asked about the launch of the Alaska Premium card, but he asked that earlier in the live, so I won't do it. QC Man says, you're not a live music guy. I'm a little surprised by that. Figured since you were a music guy, you like both live and taped. Well, it depends. I'm very particular about my music. Like if Karen Carpenter or Judith Durham came back from the grave and had a live show at the State Fair, I would commit some minor felonies to make sure I saw them. I don't like most modern live music. In fact, most of the music I enjoy was either when I was very little or before I was born. I mean, look over my left shoulder. I've got a record from George Shearing, which is probably from the 60s or 70s, and I've got a Ray Conniff record there. So I'm a very old soul. In terms of music preferences, I was born in the wrong decade. There is a up-and-coming singer named Tori Holub that sings a lot of Carpenter-style music that if she was live and it worked out, I would go see her. She actually had a concert in Minneapolis, and I almost wanted to go. Something I'm kind of kicking myself for is Gordon Lightfoot came to Des Moines. Sundown, you better beware, lest I find you been hanging round my back stair. Gordon Lightfoot came to Des Moines like 3 months before he died, and I thought about going to see him, but I read some reviews, and basically the reviews said he's so old now, his voice is just trash. So it's just sort of him telling stories and like chanting while he plays his guitar. So I thought, I don't want to ruin my impression of him, but now I'm kind of wishing I had gone just for the sake of having seen it. Sam K says Dugraz needs a coffee. Yeah, I need to add something like that. Itachi says, I've been a long time watcher, but just comments just every now and then. Thank you. Spaceco has arrived, drops a $1.99 super sticker, also friend of the channel. Celebrate. Thank you, Spaceco. I really appreciate that. All right, and that is it other than the picture of the week. So I'll show that here real quick. Got to scroll down, got to scroll down. Share this tab instead. All right, this was the picture of the week, although it was a series of pictures. So we start out with me holding a photo, and the instructions were to guess where the pictures were taken. Then you have to scroll ahead and see the next two pictures, and here they are. This was one of them, so it's a yellow airplane. Picture looks kind of grainy, kind of looks like I grabbed a camera and took a picture of a picture maybe from a while ago. And then this was the second picture, which looks like a whole bunch of grandmas and grandpas getting their picture taken, and I don't know exactly when, but definitely not yesterday. So those are my pictures. You're supposed to guess where they were taken, and this is... I got distracted by Gordon Lightfoot saying... Robert saying Gordon Lightfoot is dead. Yeah, maybe I didn't explain it correctly. It was about 3 months before he died. I passed up the opportunity to see him live and kind of regret it. So you're supposed to guess where these pictures were taken, this one and this one. So this is two parts of the same series of pictures. I only had one guess. It was from Ron. And he says, I'm guessing the first flight you ever took in the 1980s, either Phoenix, Arizona, or Las Vegas, Nevada. And I responded, admittedly, this is really difficult. I'm not even in the picture. You got the Phoenix part right, so I'll give you half credit. Wondering if anybody knows anything about the yellow airplanes. If you had gotten this right, I would have given you 10,000 points. So instead, Ron, I'll give you half credit at 5,000 points. I'm seeing if anybody else is making a guess, and I'll come back to it. The platinum OG says years. Okay, I've gotten many referrals in the last 4 years, not days or hours. Brian guessed Tumacari, New Mexico. Nope. QC Man says your parents and friends camping somewhere in Nevada. We're getting closer. I'll give you 1,000 points for that, QC Man. Brian says, is that the bat signal in the back of the plane? 500 points for a funny guess, but no, that's not the bat signal. I actually thought the same thing. Like, why does it have the Batman symbol on the tail? So I guess it's time to just reveal it now. So my grandparents were snowbirds. They lived in Iowa, but for probably about 15 years, they flew to Arizona and stayed in a mobile home. every winter, like many folks like to do. So that's a picture of the plane. It's either the plane they took or the plane a friend took when coming to visit them, because even back then, 70s and 80s, taking pictures of planes was popular, even before you had actual digital photography. So here's the photo. I found that in my grandma's photo album recently. So the people in the photo are, and I'm not going to be able to identify all of them. This is my grandparents. My grandpa, Don Jennings. My grandma, Doris Jennings. Boyd Sodeman, Margaret Sodeman. Clyde and Evelyn Mielek, and I don't know this person. I'm assuming her husband's taking the picture since she's all by herself, and then I don't know who this couple over here is. The caption says, "Getting ready to leave for Iowa, March 31st, 1982. Pearl Chester." Oh, no, I do know who this is. This is my great-uncle Chester and his wife, Pearl. So I do know everyone in the picture. Doris, Don, those are my grandparents. Margaret, Ruth, Boyd. I don't know this person. This must be Ruth here. Him and her are married. Evelyn and Clyde. So yeah, these are basically people who either went to my church or had some sort of family connection on March 31st, 1982. And I just thought that was a fun picture because, you know, I always talk about like flying and taking your trips and those kind of things. And just thinking how my grandma and grandpa took their trip back on March 31st, 1982. So that was a fun one that I just wanted to share. Let's see. I got to back up just a little bit. Historic Epic Battle says, just a heads up, the ink train is still chugging. I recently got approved for an ink cash second time. Got the decline, called for recon, Chase requested additional documentation, and got approved after 2 weeks. Did they want you to prove that it was a real business? Did you have an S Corp or did you have a sole prop? And waiting to confirm if player 2 got the referral bonus. New Again said, I'd only be interested in seeing Karen Carpenter if she was drumming and singing. She was a very good drummer, and singing on top of it is hard work. I would see her if she played a harmonica the whole time, but drumming and singing both would be the coolest part. There's a video of her from the Walter Reed Medical Center, probably 79, 80, something like that, at like a fundraiser. It was the... it might be even before that. The Ed Sullivan Show, live from the Walter Reed Medical Center. Basically, Vietnam veterans who had come home and were injured. They put on a live outdoor concert for them. And it's all live. And you can tell by the audio quality it's live. And like, man, does she sound good. I mean, there's so many artists nowadays where it's like, if you hear them live and there weren't like special effects to modify it, it would be very disappointing. QC Man, you're close enough. I give you 500 points also. Yeah, I'm wondering what Chase wants too. Proof of business address and tax transcripts. I probably wouldn't get it then because I only have a sole prop. Dennis says, I can't blame your grandparents for being snowbirds. Iowa gets real cold in the winter. It sure does. QC Man says, darn, that picture was taken before was born. I was born. Yeah, I was a little boy when that picture was taken. Sole prop. Oh, okay. Interesting. And maybe I should try it. Tiger Maple says, I left for a 30-minute lunch. Glad to see you're still alive. Absolutely. And that's probably going to be either the last or close to the last comment, because I'm going to go through who made donations and then we'll be done for the day. Last chance to drop a super chat or super sticker. Mike Newland came in strong with 20 memberships. Thanks so much, Mike. You're very generous. John gifted 1 membership. Tom Graber gifted a membership. Juan Garcia gifted a membership. Ian gave a $9.99 super chat. Ron gifted a membership. Robert Jarrell gifted $2.99. QC Man gifted a membership. Herr Muntz joined as a member. Mertz gave $1.99. FC gave $4.99. Sam gave 1 membership. Herr Muntz then later dropped $50. Very generous. Texas Dog gave 5 memberships. Thank you so much. TH gave $2. Rex gave $1.99. Herr Muntz got the elusive $1.49 super sticker. A hot dog, if I remember. Ian gave $19.99. Thank you so much. Very generous. QC Man, $1.99. Xavier celebrated 12 months of channel membership. Brian gave 99 cents. Manuel gave $2.99, and Spathco gave $1.99. Thank you all for supporting my channel. You are so kind. I really appreciate it. See you around next week. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks.